talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 10:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. England fans were in fine voice as their team became the first Europeans to make next summer's World Cup.
Are we loud enough for you? The latest chorus that has been aimed at Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, I got a bit of stick today in the first half. I was almost in every song, so fair enough. Well done, I take it, and good humour, good sense of humour.
Tuchel's team delivered the high-tempo running football he's been promising, but with just 4 games before his world squad is named, our England correspondent Faye Carruthers says that hot weather training must be ramped up.
The 2 March internationals are going to be in the UK. They're not actually going to be travelling out to the States until June for those warm-up games, and so that is a lot of time where they're not going to be playing under those kind of conditions.
Qatar and Saudi Arabia have also qualified, but there's controversy in the AFC following a secretive bidding process. 2030 World Cup host Saudi Arabia were given the advantage of 2 home games this round, plus a longer rest in the middle. Iraq boss Graham Arnold's questioned the fairness of that.
When I was in Australia, it was the playoffs would be in a neutral venue. Then when I went to the AFC draw in Malaysia, it was the 2 highest ranked teams. Iraq was 1 place higher than Saudi Arabia.
And I thought we wanted politics kept out of sport. Donald Trump has again threatened to take World Cup games away from cities like Boston, where he claims protests could be a safety concern next summer. There's more on a magic night for England, including Adrian Durham's player ratings at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
There's been a 24% increase in the number of police officers sacked and banned over the past year, and illegal migrants awaiting deportation are apparently getting free arts and craft classes and English lessons. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Another largely cloudy day with outbreaks of drizzle in some places, particularly in the southeast. Some brighter spells, mainly in Scotland and the west.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. So, England cement their place at the 2026 World Cup. Has this got a different feel to it under Tuchel? Or, come tournament time, do the same doubts about this team linger? Meantime, should Infantino allow Trump to use the World Cup as a literal political football? Also today, would Graham Potter be failing if he lands a Sweden job? We'll hear why Simon is wrong to be so disparaging towards Leagues 1 and 2. Is Nuno set for an empty home debut on Monday night? And as they look for a brief reset, is Manchester United the best or worst opponent for Liverpool to return to? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Danny Murphy, the professional as ever, sitting by his workstation, ready to go for the 3 hours ahead. I don't know, Danny, I think it's your professionalism that it's worked on Simon a bit this morning, because you came in just as I did the introduction this morning. Of late, I've been thinking, is he going to be with me or not today?
You've been complaining about me disturbing you and fiddling about with my headphones and all that sort of stuff. I've heard.
You love it, don't you? You love it. Danny, good morning.
Good morning.
Here's one for you. Anthony Joshua has a birthday today, Simon. 36 years of age. Are we going to see him fight Fury next year at last?
I suspect so. I mean, if the money's there and it is the fight with all the money in the room, then I think it will probably happen. It's the one that everyone wants to see. It doesn't have the same jeopardy as it once had before, but it'll have the same pantomime, same theatre. Yeah. It'll have the same show, and that's what certain aspects. If we can watch Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank, and we can watch Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, that were once upon a time 2 legitimate heavyweight champions of the world.
Yeah, I think we want it, Danny. We want to see it, don't we?
Yeah, of course. I think everybody would tune in. There'd be some scepticism because they're both up maybe a little bit past their best, but it kind of doesn't matter.
It'd be fascinating if we do see it, where we see it, because it's one thing it being a fight. I think it belongs in England, and the scale of the fight might deter that, because if the Saudis want it and they're prepared to bankroll it, because the only way they're going to get the kind of money that these two boys might think they want, and might think they're entitled to, is if the Saudis bankroll it, because they're not going to get 100 million quid if they fight it in London, are they?
Sure. I think you're right. It's got to be here. We know where the World Cup finals will be next summer, and that's in the US of A, and England are there. Well done to Tuchel. Well done to the boys. A 5-star performance in Latvia sees England cement their place at the 2026 World Cup. Who's going to join them? Will Scotland be there? I would like to think so. 239 days out, though. Has this got a different feel to it under Thomas Tuchel? 6 qualification wins from 6. 0 goals conceded, and an 8th successive World Cup finals. So they're ready. They're going to head out there, and they're going to do their bit. Tuchel and Kane were full of it last night.
I'm very happy, and it's a very special moment. It's not daily business to qualify for World Cup. So now we made it, and we made it with 6 wins in 6 matches, and had another good performance, a top result. So yeah, we're very happy. Special moment.
Proud of the boys. You know, it's been a fantastic group so far. I think sometimes it can be underestimated what you achieve. I know we're expected to qualify, but to do it 6 out of 6 with 2 games to spare, I think is credit to everyone involved. So another fantastic game today. I spoke after the last camp about continuing the momentum that we've been building, and I think we've done that. So another clean sheet, 0 goals conceded in the group, and yeah, we can enjoy this.
Danny, nobody better to ask, has this got a different feel to it under Tuchel, or come tournament time, do the same doubts about this team and Football Nation linger?
Well, there's a lot of positivity at the moment, good performances, nice intensity, good start to games, people playing well, embracing their opportunities. There's so long to go. You know, this team could look very different by the time the World Cup starts. We're going to be playing in hot temperatures against much better opposition. You know, let's not get carried away. Let's not get carried away.
You say it's so long to go, Danny. It'll be on us before we know it.
I know, but I mean in terms of players' form, injuries, all those things, the team can change. We've seen it many, many times.
Yeah.
So I just think, you know, let's be positive what we've seen so far. I think it's better. But we have played some poor opposition. It's not easy to judge.
Yeah.
And also,
so have you learned anything new about this England setup?
They look like they're going to be on the front foot. I don't envisage a Thomas Tuchel team being pragmatic and dropping off against even higher quality opposition. I know it'll be hot, but I think we'll see England go for it. I think we'll see a lot more positivity in the way we play. But other than that, you know, it's the same thing. You play poor opposition, you steamroller them, you win comfortably. You've just got to wait till they play better opposition and see how they do and how his in-game management is and which players turn up. One thing is for sure is that Harry Kane looking the way he is a huge plus, and he's got to stay fit.
Yeah, yeah.
Got to stay fit.
What about you, Simon? Do the same doubts about England linger on with you?
Well, I don't think there's anything material difference between the qualification campaign of the 22 World Cup. They were beaten Andorra 5-0, they were beaten San Marino 10-0, they were beaten Albania 5-0, and they had the challenge of playing the Euros right in the middle, the 21 Euros that should have been played in 20 because of COVID, right in the middle of their World Cup qualifying campaign. So they had the disruption and also the preparation for a legitimate tournament right in the middle of a qualifying campaign. Thomas Tuchel, first of all, great, fantastic, job done. That's what we anticipated, that's what we expected. Thomas Tuchel wasn't brought in for this. Let's not be grateful for this. This is the outcome that we should be expecting. It doesn't lead us to any conclusions besides the fact that Tuchel's big question is not when we beat Latvia 5-0 away. Fantastic, we're going to do a job like that. But we did it previously under Gareth Southgate as well. The job is when Thomas Tuchel comes up against opposition that previously have created a problem for us, because on paper, we might not be better than them. On paper, we're not guaranteed to beat them. And that's what Thomas Tuchel's paid for. And only then, and only at that moment, can we turn around and say anything's different. Other than that, it's gravy, it's nice, it makes everyone feel good about the situation. But when we play a France, a Spain, a Germany, or anyone else that we are on paper potentially either equal to or slightly less than, Tuchel's X factor comes in there and they're alone.
Danny, is Jude Bellingham no longer an automatic England starter? I mean, who is? Who is?
Well, he would be for me if he's fit. If Jude Bellingham's playing well, everything about him you want in a team. He's a leader. He's shown that he can show up in big moments and produce on the biggest stage. He plays with no fear. He's one of the few that does that. So he is a starter if he's fit to me. I think Pickford's a certainty. Gay's a certainty. Rice is a Saka. Kane. It's probably in the fullback areas and the wider areas on the pitch where you're looking still there's competition for places.
Rice, yeah.
Rice is definitely going to play. So Elliot Anderson's been really impressive. I know he's not played against high quality opposition, but the games he's played, he's shown a real desire to impact the games and make things out. He takes risks. I like him. He's giving himself a hell of a...
Who's the preferred or the best centre-half pairing?
Gay and Stones for me.
I mean, where are the question marks, Danny? I don't want to come out with so many pessimistic sounds this morning. But before you know where you are, this is the different England. We're going out there. This is our time. It's coming home. You know where I'm going with it.
Do you mean the question marks in terms of the areas on the pitch?
Yeah, in general.
Well, I think...
Where might England trip themselves up next year against a more than decent opponent?
Well, it's difficult to say, but I think if you play with a more positive attitude and on the front foot and go after teams like it looks like he's going to do, you do leave yourself more open to high-quality counters and teams with good forward players like France, like Spain. You know, we could lose a game by being...
trying to win it.
Yeah. And then it's... I think he's quite adaptable, Tuchel. I think if you're playing Spain in 30-degree heat, you can't go after them for more than 10 or 15 minutes. You've got to be cute and clever and maybe pick people who can counter really well for you because Spain will dominate the ball. But I don't see Tuchel being too... single-minded in playing one way all the time. He's not daft.
Right.
I think that's going to be a benefit. But ultimately, our chances will be based on a little bit of luck in the draw, which we've had in previous tournaments, and also having our best players fit. And our best players is Kane, Bellingham, and Rice.
I mean, Tuchel suggested England are underdogs. Do you go with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to be an underdog if you never won a big tour. You haven't won one for God knows how many years.
Do you also go with Guy in Swindon? Morning, Jim, Danny, Simon. I get a totally different optimistic feeling for this World Cup for England in many, many years. In the last 3 or 4 games, we've played with a swagger and a style that I believe can go that one step further and actually win the damn thing. For the first time, we have a team that has the same lineup for consecutive games, etc., etc. He goes on, he says, I think we can finally go that one step further this time. And then the words... It's coming home. Oh, Guy in Swindon. This is exactly what I think that many people will guard against saying this morning. But Guy's out there saying he's not wrong in doing it. He's a fan and he's commenting on what he believes.
Well, there's nothing wrong with optimism or positivity. That's fine. It's good, half glass full and all that. It's fine as a supporter. You're allowed to do that. The reality is we've proven time and time again that on the big stage, in the big moments, we fail. So... there's also an understanding of the scepticism and negativity. You're going to get both sides leading up to this. Ultimately, it'll come down to a bit of luck.
It doesn't matter what song you sing, does it?
No.
It's like saying the people could turn around, and a lot of people do, and you probably do, cringe about the anagram of Make America Great Again. But they're proud in their country. They believe in their principles, and they go after it. If we believe that football belongs to us, then ultimately it's up to the team to go and deliver it. It doesn't matter what songs we sing. It doesn't matter who likes us. The European federations don't like us anyway. They've never liked England. England didn't want to be part of UEFA when it first was put together in the 50s. Even though Stanley Rouse was one of the leading parties to be involved in the European Cup, they didn't want to be participants. England had this attitude, and as always, and it's never lost its. And of course, now you've got the Premier League, and look at the attacks upon the Premier League, left, right, and centre from all the other leagues. So there is a perception of the English that they're not liked anyway. So our job is to win. You've got to win. I mean, if you have ever been in Spain, when those swines have won something, you would want to strangle them because they're the most arrogant sods that you've ever come across in terms of what they think is entitled to. And I've sat in Spain watching them win the Euros and watching them win the World Cup, and I wanted to go anywhere else in the world.
Morning, brother. Spanish.
But I'm just saying, it's not unique to
Buenos
us.
dias.
It's not unique to us.
Okay.
It's not unique to us. All it is a rod for our own back. But if the team is good enough to win, then go and win. And the fans have got to have... If you don't have belief and emotion and dreams and aspirations when you're supporting football, what are you supporting football for? Because it's la-la land anyway.
Yeah, I have a dream. Who sang that? It was about Scotland as well. So 239 days out. Has this got a different feel to it, this England under Thomas Tuchel? Or come tournament time, do the same doubts about this team linger? Let me know. 03717 223344 810 89. What we do know is England are out there and they're going to the finals. I was right. It was John Gordon Sinclair who sang the 1982 Scotland World Cup song, We Have a Dream.
Gregory's Girl.
That's right. It was in Gregory's Girl. Well remembered, Simon. There's a fellow in Doncaster saying, please mute Jim White when he starts talking about the World Cup in England. Yeah, you might not be wrong. You might not be wrong on that. So many of you getting in touch. We'll bring one or two of you to air this morning. Now that England, we know, are heading there next summer. Any concerns? What are your concerns? Do the same doubts about this team linger? Similar to ones in the past. We had a bunch of things last night. We had Thomas Tuchel a bit tongue-in-cheek talking about the reaction of the England fans because he had a brief swipe at them the other night when he didn't hear them in the game against Wales at Wembley. And some of the England fans who travelled to Latvia last night gave it back to him. Are we loud enough for you? 1-0 to the Library. I quite liked it, and so did Tuchel.
Yeah, I got a bit of stick today in the first half. I was almost in every song, so fair enough. Well done, I take it, and good humour, good sense of humour, and accept it.
So he's got a sense of humour, Thomas, but we knew that anyway. Danny, after the early loving during the Southgate era, you know, and some of the fans were out there wearing waistcoats, if you remember, and all that kind of thing, will this always feel like much more of a transactional relationship between the England fans and Tuchel? I mean, warmth, connection, is that going to be in short supply?
Well, while he keeps winning and keeps making bold decisions and saying the right things, he'll have the majority support him and back him and not care whether he's German or whatever else. It's only when things go a little bit wrong or the performances dip or one of the biggest games we have in the World Cup we fail and he makes some bad decisions, then the walls will come tumbling down. But he'll be gone, won't he, if that's the case? If he wins it, then everyone's going to love him. It's not rocket science. To be honest, if he wins it, he'll probably stay, I would imagine.
Oh, you would think. Yeah.
But
can you imagine that happening?
No.
Are you saddened about that?
Why do you think he'll stay? Well, if you've hit the height of winning the World Cup, I mean, I don't see Thomas Tuchel as being an international manager in the longer term.
Well, only because
I think he's a very busy sort of individual. And if he wins the World Cup, he's hit. The only way from that point is either sideways or down.
Well, I think
he can't do better.
I think because
unless they bring the tournament to the UK, which is not going to happen in 2030. So
but he'd probably feel that just for 2 years he'd be obviously well.
If he can rinse some more money out.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be the most popular man in England.
Exactly.
Yeah, leave on a high, leave people wanting more. But he's not a fool, Thomas Tuchel, on any level.
No, but I think
when you're if he wins the World Cup,
he'll believe he could then win the Euros, though, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, the Euros comparison to the World Cup. And once that is the ultimate trophy, isn't it? The Euros is the runt of the litter in comparison to. Well, it is, isn't it?
See, this is what I mean. Here we go. The Euros. Now the World Cup.
Absolutely. If you're going to, if you had a choice between the Euros and the World Cup, you'd pick the World Cup.
Of course you would, but there's a lot of.
Have you got that choice?
Well, we're going to the World Cup next, aren't we?
There's a lot of opinion. There's a lot of opinion in football that the Euros are harder to win because there's better teams.
In the Euros?
Yeah. You don't. In the World Cup, you tend to play a few pub teams, don't you?
Just while we're sharing this crazy moment, if Tuchel delivers a World Cup, will he be viewed as an England legend? Would he sit alongside the greats of English football, folklore like Charlton, Hurst, Gaza?
No, because you're talking about players.
Yes, yeah.
Players are viewed differently to managers.
Would you put him in with Alf Ramsey is the question.
There you go.
Yeah, would you put him in that?
Would you?
Well, you can't. How many other England managers can we actually tilt a cap at? We can turn around and remember the noble failures. We can turn around and say how wonderful it was in '96, but we didn't win anything. Right? We can look at Gareth. We can look at Gareth Southgate and Bobby Robson, and we can say these moments. If he wins, he gets escalated to a legend as an England manager, an honorary Englishman, I suspect. If he wants that title, if we want to bestow it upon him.
I mean, would it be a great English success story, Danny, or a great German one?
Well, a mix of both, wouldn't it? It'd be a great English story because the players produced the performances, but it'd be a German story that the leader of the English team was German. That would be forever written in history.
Yeah.
And some people will never like that. There's some people who just don't want that ever to be a case where a foreigner leads the England team. I get it, actually. I understand.
It's like the England captain catapulting Bayern Munich back to winning the Bundesliga after they lost it last year. You know, it was won by an Englishman. It's not really, is it? I mean, the team is English. I know people like Matt Letizia have a very strong view on the fact that they believe if you have to qualify to England, one of the qualifications for playing for England is being English, then one of the qualifications for managing England or any country should be that.
Yeah,
we're now seeing.
I tend to agree with
if
that.
Ancelotti goes over to Brazil,
which he did.
She is, and wins the World Cup for Brazil. Are we going to listen to the Brazilians talking about whether they've won the World Cup or whether an Italian has?
Yeah.
No, we won't. But there's some validity in that argument.
Yeah,
that the rules should apply to the man.
And Brazil have won this thing in recent times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We go back to '66, as you say.
We've won it once, and that would tell you that we can't win it, can't it? So we'll turn to anybody to try and win it.
Whilst you two are dreaming about things that may or may not happen, let's get back to that original question. This tournament and this England, do the same doubts about this team linger? Do the same doubts about England linger? Or does this feel different? Like many of you are trying to suggest to me that it does. Some of the messages coming in. Let's take a call on this. Tim is a Liverpool fan, am I right? And an England fan. Not many of you out there, or are there? I don't know.
I'm not sure about that, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning,
Great
Tim.
show as usual.
Thanks,
Thank you
Tim.
for having me on.
What do you think? Have you got a different feeling about this?
Yeah, very good feeling about it. A lot of English fans might not like this idea. Thomas Tuchel has got a Teutonic mindset. It's very thorough, it's very planned, and it's very organised. That's the epitome of German thinking, in my view. Now, going forward, for me, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I think Thomas has got that absolutely spot on, that he has got plan A, plan B, plan C for any eventuality.
You don't think you had that before, Tim?
No, not at all. Southgate had plan A. We score an early goal and then, woof, we're lost insofar as we've scored early, let's sit back. And then it comes at us in wave after wave like a tsunami. And it's only a question of time, in my view, under Mr. Southgate. With Tuchel, I think he'll say, OK, I need to take him off and I need to bring maybe Hendo on and say, right then, get the midfield organised because we've got a bit of a weak spot there.
OK, listen, Tim, I like it. Thank you very much indeed for the call. Here's Dan, who's a Leeds fan, no doubt an England fan as well. What do you think about this England, Dan? Have you got a feeling?
Hi, morning, guys. To be honest, I'm a great fan of international football, but it's coming where we're looking at English managers and we're looking at... But the interesting thing at the moment, no disrespect about any other teams that we've played, but Wales, Latvia and Serbia, I think it was, right? They're no big men, you know what I mean? They're no giants. Put us against France, Brazil, Denmark, people like that, then see how we perform. I mean, I'm not a big one for international football, but it'd be nice to see England bring it out this year, but I don't know. I think we're getting too excited too early, Jim. I think we need to wait. You know what I mean? It's one of them.
OK, Dan, listen, thanks for the call, mate. I mean, there's always a tendency, but I mean, I suppose, why shouldn't England fans get that bit excited this morning, Danny? When you look at what they've done, I agree. The standard of opposition thus far hasn't been great, but 6 qualification wins from 6, no goals conceded. I mean, what about Pickford? Have you got one of the best in there?
Pickford's a very good goalkeeper who's done brilliantly for England, so you can't... I mean, he deserves his place and he's done lots of good things for England. He's got a good record. He's not a top-tier goalkeeper. When you think of Premier League, the best are Alisson, David Raya, Donnarumma. He's not in their league. And
why is that? Because of the club he plays for not being up there?
No. His presence, not as good at crosses. His crosses, commanding his box, he's not as good as those. I mean, you're talking about some of the best keepers in the world, by the way. Doesn't mean he's not a great goalkeeper. He's a very good goalkeeper, but he's been at Everton for a reason. I know Lee Dixon's got a bit of stick for saying something last night, hasn't he? But to be fair to him, I didn't hear exactly what he said, but yeah.
Oh, he was suggesting he was surprised maybe why Pickford hasn't moved coach to a bigger club in his career.
He would have done if they come in.
Everton bit back on Twitter, Simon, last night and said 9 top flight titles, 5 FA Cups, 1 European title, one of football's most passionate fan bases, a world-class new stadium, Everton Football Club, a big club, past, present and future. And they
not on achievements, though.
They included Lee Dixon in that tweet.
Not on recent achievements. So if you're talking about in his career path, so we're not talking about what Everton did in the 1980s.
Yeah.
We're not talking about what Everton did back in the past. We're talking about the order of events now that determine which big clubs you play for, the ones that achieve things. Of course, we've got a history of goalkeepers that have played for lesser clubs. I mean, Gordon Banks played for Leicester and Stoke City. So did Peter Shilton. Nottingham Forest were a parochial side that came up under the brilliant Brian Clough, but they weren't one of the perceived bigger clubs. So it's not really that important.
Yeah.
As long as you're a good... I mean, in fact, actually, you might have to be a better goalkeeper playing for one of the lesser clubs because you're coming under more pressure than some of the bigger clubs. So whilst we, in recent times, we've seen David Seaman and we've seen other, Joe Hart that was soon jettisoned out of Manchester City when they become the elite force in English football. So I'm not entirely sure that it matters that much. And
to be fair to Jordan, he can't not be an elite keeper with 80 caps.
He's a very good goalkeeper. There's no doubt. And you could argue he's better for England than Everton over the years.
Well, we don't dominate goalkeeping anymore. Once upon a time, you look at the 70s, you had Clements, you had Phil Parkes, you had Joe Corrigan, you had Peter Shilton. You move into the 80s.
Ray Clements.
I said Clements.
Oh, did you?
You move into the 80s, and of course, you have great goalkeepers that came along there. But over the years, it used to be that goalkeeping was something that I know that we had the great German goalkeeper that played in goal for the Manchester City side, Bert Trautmann. Yeah. And he was a leading goalkeeper. But we seem to have fallen behind in that position. And all of a sudden, what was once upon a time, I know Dino Zoff was a great goalkeeper. I know Lev Yashin was great goalkeepers.
You're coming out with them.
I'm
this
good,
morning.
aren't I? Yeah, I'm not bad, am I? But
bringing in the younger viewers.
But I am. Well, education. If people could
Simon
still
Jordan,
look back in the past.
specialised subject, goalkeeping.
No, but I'm providing context to the conversation rather than just assuming that the goalkeepers that we've got aren't one thing or another.
Yeah.
I think that we've seemingly lost our position as the elite goalkeeper because you never would have figured that the Brazilians would produce the best goalkeepers. No. Once upon a time, they were the best outfield side.
Everton fans, how proud are you to have Jordan Pickford in your ranks? Because as Danny says, Lee Dixon on commentary duty last night, he's come in for some criticism this morning for questioning why Pickford hasn't moved to a bigger club in his career. And Everton bit back with, you bet we're a big club past, present and future, they said to Lee Dixon.
Well,
you might want to tell us why.
If Jordan Pickford had the opportunity to go to play Champions League football, he'd have gone.
Yeah.
Make no bones about that. Even though Everton are a big club and a very good club. No doubt he would have gone. But the reason he hasn't gone is they didn't come.
Everton fans, are you proud of your man Pickford? 03717 223344 half-10.
pads are a footballer's best friend. Even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there actually any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads for a century. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. His Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this kind of protection was pretty important for footballers. And so, in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says they must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, even though there have been calls for it to be changed. But for now, that's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. Danny Murphy is in our midst, and we're pleased about that. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Danny Murphy. We are live on talkSPORT and live on your TV as well, on your Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, even Prime Video, whatever you want to watch us. You can do that in a variety of different ways. I touched on the fact last night that Lee Dixon, in co-commentary in the game between Latvia and England, came in for a bit of stick when he questioned why Jordan Pickford hadn't moved to a, quotes, bigger club in his career. Pickford's done all right, 80-plus caps for England, of course, and his club is Everton. Everton bit back at Lee Dixon's comments on X. They said 9 top-flight titles, 5 FA Cups, 1 European title, one of football's most passionate fan bases, Everton FC, a big club, past, present and future. And they included Lee Dixon in that tweet. So Everton had a go back. One or two Evertonians giving us a call. Here's Jackie, an Evertonian. Were you offended in any way by Lee Dixon's comments on co-commentary last night, Jackie?
Well, I think as comments, Jim, are always poor regarding Pickford. They were poor a couple of nights ago as well. He just seems to be blinkered with him. Even when he makes a decent save, it's kind of like played down. I'm not a blinkered Evertonian in terms of, I know we're not a Champions League club and things like that, but Pickford's been excellent for Everton, and I don't know where this opinion comes from, that he's poor, not great for Everton, but brilliant for England. He's excellent for Everton. I go to every single game. I'm a goalkeeper myself. Neville Southall was my number one hero. But Jordan, he's pretty much flawless every game. He wouldn't be in the league if it wasn't for him. So I don't know where this opinion comes from.
Yeah, and Jackie, do you consider Jordan to be an elite goalkeeper? Because I don't think you did, Danny, did you?
I like Jordan Pickford. He's a very good goalkeeper. He's not top draw. He's not with the others I've mentioned. No.
The others like.
What would you say, Danny, makes the difference then? What would make him elite if you don't think he's elite?
Well, crossing, commanding the box. I mean, presence, you know, the influence around others, the calmness you create. I think you were right, by the way. The last couple of years, he's been great for Everton. But he did have a season or two where he was struggling and made a lot of mistakes. But he got over that. He did some work, didn't he, on his mentality. He talked openly about it. And I think his improvement was brilliant. And for England, he's been pretty flawless. So yeah, there's a lot to like about him, but he's not top drawer. He's not elite. No, he's not one of. If you look at the three keepers in the league, the best, they're a step above.
Jackie, do you like the fact that Everton bit back on Twitter at Dixon for his comment?
I do, but like I say, we're always going to get that stick because we're not up there where we should be anymore at the moment. Hopefully we will be soon. But yeah, I do like we have started sticking up for ourselves the last couple of years, which is nice to see because we've been a bit of a we've been kicked for quite a few years now. So it's nice to see us fight back a little bit.
Jackie, great call. Thank you very much indeed. Mark's an Evertonian. Mark, what's your take on Pickford? Is he an elite goalkeeper?
Danny, like all the goalies that you named there, like they have one thing in common. You know, they're all foreign. You know, so what you're saying is like the English don't have an elite goalkeeper. There's not an elite goalkeeper who's English.
Well, it depends on your interpretation of elite. He's our best goalie. He's England's best goalie.
So what's the problem then? Why has everyone got this sort of thing about it? And it is, and it's not just an Everton sort of complex thing, you know.
I've got no problem with him. I complimented him. I just don't think he's, it's like we could talk about a lot of players in the England team. Some are world class, some aren't. He's.
I know, even when we were near the bottom of the league, like we had the most clean sheets next to Arsenal and Liverpool, you know.
Mark, do you think he deserves a bit more respect in general? He's just broken Gordon Banks' record.
Yeah, I do absolutely. But my main point was about when you were saying. What's different about this England team?
Yeah.
He's not going to, have the team being picked by, the Sun newspaper and journalists like yourself, Jim. You know.
You don't want me picking your team, mate, I can assure you.
No, you know what I mean? With that sort of that narrative, that thing, you've got to play all your best players.
Yes,
you can't play this one, you can't play that one.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't fit 4 players like Foden or Lennon, just keep 3 on the bench and have 1 in, and then you have the team ethic all around them.
Okay, all right. Mark, some good points on that. Let's finish with Everton. Alan, who's another Everton fan. Never buy teeth from a catalogue. Alan, good morning. What do you want to say on this Pickford situation?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm a blue through and through. I have been all my life,
Good man.
And previous fellas said there, Neville Southall was always my hero. But you know what? We're talking about England, whether we can win the World Cup at last. And I honestly believe, if you take Everton out the equation, he's been immense for us. We would have been relegated a couple of seasons without him in goal, But take Everton out the equation. Look at England. I'm not a big England fan, most Scousers aren't, but I enjoy watching England, and I have done while Jordan Pickford's been playing. There is a bit of hope. We're getting to finals, we're getting to semi-finals, and that's a big, big part of him being in between the sticks. He is by far the best English keeper that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, very good. Alan, thank you for that. A lot of love out there, maybe not surprisingly, from Evertonians towards the keeper.
Well, I think from an England perspective, if you've watched Jordan Pickford in the tournaments, he always shows up. It's great on pens. His confidence is as high as it's ever been. He's a leader now. He's got experience. He is our best. There's no worry about having him in goal for England for me.
That's leader always turns up. He's almost elite, Danny.
Well, again, interpretation of elite. The best goalkeeper. If you said to me now the best 5 goalkeepers in Europe, he's not in them. There's a lot of good goalkeepers.
Who's been your best ever? Shilton.
The English one?
Yeah.
I don't remember Shilton well enough to say. I mean, Seaman was probably the most consistent I remember.
Yeah. Come on, Simon. You've been rattling names off this morning.
Schmeichel in the Premier League, my lifetime, he was the keeper I used to think, oh my God.
Yeah.
What a presence he is. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Different requirements of goalkeepers now, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, whether Shilton could do the things that Shilton did back in the 70s and 80s.
How big was he, Shilton? Was he?
He was
massive,
I
was he?
think he was just about 6 foot, wasn't he?
Mm.
He had that big story about him. He used to hang from a goalpost, didn't he, and stretch himself for years and years, always hanging down, making his arms longer. But he was just a brilliant goalkeeper, commanded his box.
Is that what you did for the javelin?
In this day, yeah, when I was doing my javelin whilst on a skateboard, he was a great goalkeeper at his time. Would he, by the modern day standards of what we're asking goalkeepers to do now?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, Jordan Pickford will be there next summer. Of course he will, and so will England. And congratulations to Tuchel and England for getting there even this early. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. So it's Wednesday, October the 15th, the morning after the night before. The night before, England qualified for the World Cup finals under Thomas Tuchel. They'll be heading out to the US of A, and no doubt the show will be out there with them. We'll see how that ends up. But, of course, you think of the US of A and you think of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, of course, has been saying a lot of things, as Donald Trump does. Speaking from the Oval Office during his meeting with the Argentina president yesterday, Trump was asked about Boston Mayor Michelle Wu and the potential of relocating World Cup matches from the city of Boston. Have a listen.
I love the people of Boston. I know the games are sold out, but your mayor is not good. They're worse than her. At least she's intelligent. You know, some are extremely low IQ. Those bother me more. She's intelligent, but she's radical left. And they're taking over parts of Boston. That's a pretty big statement, right? We could get them back in about 2 seconds. All she has to do is call us. We'll go in and take them back. If somebody is doing a bad job, and if I feel there's unsafe conditions, I would call Johnny, the head of FIFA, who's phenomenal, and I would say, let's move it to another location. And he would do that. He wouldn't love to do it, but he'd do it. Very easily he'd do it.
Would he? Trump has once again suggested, and you heard that certain matches would be relocated from certain cities if he deems them unsafe. I mean, this time he's threatening to move some of the games from Boston, as you heard there, one of 11 US cities hosting matches next summer. And it's not the first time that he's made threats against cities like that, which, curiously enough, are all Democrat-led. In terms of Trump and Infantino, Simon, do you think he's going to end up really testing Infantino's special relationship between the two?
Well, we have to examine the reasons why he's saying it, because if it's about the immigration policy that's operating in that country and you've got a Democrat in that state that's riling up the population and you've got genuine safety issues, then Trump should be able to make that case to FIFA and say, do you really want to put football teams in the way of a febrile and challenging environment? We've seen people come on this platform and talk about the nature of their objections to the policy of the country, the one that Donald Trump was elected into. And they don't like it, and they're talking about the idea that Iceland are doing certain things. So that's what Trump is referring to. He's referring to the safety.
It's his political agenda. What he's going back to.
Well, hang on. If there's a safety issue, is it right for him to flag it? If he perceives that there is a safety issue around the football tournament being staged in a particular part of America, and you might be right, it might be just because it's Democrat states, and predominantly will be Democrat states, because
of course it is.
Well, they'll object to his immigration
it's
policy.
It's nothing to do with the safety issue in the city of Boston.
How do you know?
Boston is more than capable. Of course it would be.
Is it?
It wouldn't have been nominated had it not been.
Is it? Okay. Well, that was before Trump was operating a policy that seems to be creating a real challenge in America.
So what, is Trump making the city unsafe?
No, people's reaction to his immigration policy.
Yeah, well, are his policies
the radical left
unsafe?
No, their reaction to it.
The radical left. The bottom line is Boston a suitable venue for a World Cup?
Look at it a different way.
You'd have to think yes.
Look at it a different way. If something happens and he hasn't dealt with it and seen it happening and been proactive in trying, making sure. I mean, we'll never know, because if he changes it, we'll never know if Boston there was going to be a problem. But you can't win in that respect, can you? If he's being told there could be danger, there could be a problem, it's his job to the people of America to try and switch it and fix it, and not put people.
That's a message he's trying to put over.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's either legitimate or it's not.
But exactly. Should the locating of World Cup matches to certain cities end up being a political agenda of Trump's?
If that's what it is, no. If that's what it is, no.
Well, it's either.
But if it's the safety of you and me going over there to watch a game and have a wonderful carnival atmosphere and experience these wonderful festivals that World Cups bring, and you have a bad experience because they've not dealt, then people coming from afar are going to be punished.
It's an interesting town. I lived in Boston, so it's an interesting town. And once upon a time, being British in Boston was not something was that advisable. And certain places in Boston you couldn't go to as an Englishman.
That's changed.
Because they were passing the hat around for certain political organisations.
That's a long time ago.
That's not the point. So at that time, that town was operating in a certain way. If there's a perception that there is a safety issue around the objections being raised by another politician and how that will create outcomes inside that safety unit that they believe is important for the football operation, then he has every right to raise it. If we want to turn it into something else, if it's not legitimate, if there are no safety issues and there's nobody going to cause any problems, we are seeing a very febrile attitude towards Trump's immigration policy. The question is, should the host country be able to say that to FIFA? I mean, I was in Qatar and I thought it was laughable, the amount of influence that FIFA seemed to have. It was almost like the Vatican State had rolled into Qatar.
They've done that at all the tournaments.
And I quite like the idea that they aren't a law unto themselves. There isn't FIFA law.
Oh, I agree with that.
So the balance is between should they have the ability to be able to do what they want, or should there be some recognition of some legitimate concerns if they are indeed legitimate?
Yeah.
And if they're not legitimate and there's no legitimacy, then we can all make the claim that we're making here that this is purely Trump trying to have one over the difference of opinion from the particular party that's in power in the state that he has an objection.
It's not the first time that he's made this threat against cities out there which are due to host games, and they're all Democrat-led.
What was the other city?
They're all Democrat-led. Well, he's spoken about LA as well, has he not? He spoke about Seattle. But the bottom line is... The bottom line is people have bought tickets. They're ready to go. Boston will be ready to go. And he says here in one breath, well, Gianni probably wouldn't like it. No, he wouldn't. But he'd have to do it. I mean, I cannot see it happening.
No, it's probably an idle threat. But by saying that with Trump, you never know, because he's shown his hand before. He tends to do what he says.
Absolutely.
So we'll wait and see on that one. Ultimately, all we all want is a safe environment for the World Cup to be played in and fans to have a great time.
Yeah.
That's it.
And Boston will claim today that as a city it's safe.
Yeah, and it probably is. It's a little dig, isn't it? It's a little warning shot, probably.
So at the end of the day, should Infantino, Simon, be in the business of allowing Trump to use the World Cup as this literal political
he'll have no
football?
Well, again, I don't know, and I don't know if we do know whether there is real challenges in Boston now because of the mayor. I don't know. He has a particular dislike for mayors. We dislikes the one in London, who is an idiot, and I quite perfectly well agree with him.
But most people do.
Yeah, well, hopefully at the next ballot box they will. But insofar as what this particular mayor is doing, I don't know. He's calling her radical left. I don't know what the messaging is. I don't know what their policies in that particular town is, and I don't know how febrile the atmosphere is. If it is, then he's doing his job. If it isn't, then people like Gianni Infantino should say, we've alighted upon these towns. These were the towns that you yourself allowed to be the case because you were the one that came to us with this World Cup in 2016.
Would you be as defensive of the likes of Putin as you're being of Trump if this had been the trend back in, say, 2018?
I'm not being defensive. I'm just providing a balanced argument. Why do you think I'm being defensive? I'm just providing a different argument. I don't have no skin in this game. I couldn't care less if it's in Boston or in Nantucket. It makes no difference to me. I'm just providing a rounded argument. If we just want to say it's political, then we won't have much of a conversation, will we?
I mean, should any world leader be in a position whereby he can use a World Cup as some kind of a political football, excuse the pun? Because that is what's happening here, isn't it? That is what's happening here. He's only picking on Democrat cities.
I mean, yeah, the evidence seems to be the case. But whether he's picking on... Because they're the only people that will be... The Republican states won't be objecting to his policies and won't be whipping up their audience. If a Democrat state... So by definition, he's only picking on Democrat states because the Democrats are the ones that are creating the culture in those states that are objecting to the immigration policy that, unfortunately for them, he got an electoral college majority on. So they have to get on with it.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting at this stage. We're at mid-October. And one of the questions out there is, will Boston remain one of the host cities? And if Trump has his way, maybe it won't. We shall watch with interest to see if it stays as one of the host cities. In the meantime, it's 11 o'clock.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Former England midfielder Danny Murphy believes we'll see more positive performances at next summer's World Cup, but questions what we've really learned about Tuchel's team in qualifying.
You've just got to wait till they play better opposition and see how they do and how his in-game management is and which players turn up. One thing is for sure is that Harry Kane looking the way he is a huge plus.
Stuart Pearce has told talkSPORT Elliot Anderson's form means he will start if the World Cup was tomorrow, and only one from Rodgers, Bellingham, Foden and Palmer would get in England's starting 11 at the moment. Meanwhile, former England keeper Ben Foster says players don't really enjoy these international breaks. They're just saying what's expected of them.
If you ask the ex-pros or recently retired pros, they'll tell you the honest truth, which is we don't want to play these games. We've got no interest in it. It's just a waste of our time. We're in a nice groove in the Premier League. Yeah, we know we've got real competition every single Saturday. Really, really good.
You can see more from Ben's breakfast co-host slot on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Spurs have confirmed Fabio Paratici's back as one of two sporting directors, as we reported back in August. He'll work alongside Johan Langer. Paratici is now served a ban for his alleged role in a false accounting scandal at Juventus. And at the Women's Cricket World Cup, John Norman is watching. England have lost early wickets.
Yeah, 38 for 2. We've had 6 overs of play. England win today. They go back to the top of the group. Pakistan winless. But 2 quick wickets with both openers dismissed thanks to induckers. Amy Jones bowled for 8, Tammy Beaumont for 4. Heather Knight overturned an on-field LBW call. She's still there, 18 not out. England 38 for 2.
talkSPORT News.
There's been a 24% increase in the number of police officers sacked and banned over the last year, and illegal migrants awaiting deportation are apparently getting free arts and craft classes and English lessons. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Another mostly cloudy day with outbreaks of drizzle in some places, particularly the southeast. Some brighter spells, mainly in Scotland and the west.
Good morning, everybody. 5 minutes past 11 o'clock this Wednesday morning, Wednesday, October the 15th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We've been talking about the possibility of Trump moving World Cup matches away from certain cities that have been chosen as venues for next summer. My goodness me, this one's got you talking. Will he do it? Will he see it through? Not happy about some Democrat-led cities which will be staging matches. Maybe the possibility of taking it away from one or two of them. He's spoken about this before. Boston was the latest one to come into the question this morning. Many people getting in touch. Many people, Simon, saying you're quite virtually what you're saying. Trump says what he means and means what he says. People better get out of the way. When he does make a decision of this kind of magnitude. The question is, and there's Tom is saying, if he was to move World Cup matches from a certain city, do you still think that Infantino would stand for that? Or is he in any position not to be able to stand for it?
I don't think any of us really know the commercial nuance of how a World Cup is awarded and what then lies in terms of the balance of authority between the hosting country and what they think and the FIFA. We saw it for ourselves in Qatar, where we saw they seemed to have the rule of the land, didn't they? They seemed to be able to just stop traffic, do what they want, and ultimately it was almost like I said earlier on, FIFA law came in. So the construct of it, the one thing about Trump, whether you like him or you don't, lots of people do like him and lots of people don't like him, is he gets things done. And in this world where we've got a lot of people talking about a lot of things and not a lot of problems being resolved, he creates outcomes. So I have a tendency, his Trump's typical style is go hard, say something outrageous, and then row back from it and get a deal done. That's how he operates. That's his modus operandi. That's his playbook. He does it in business. He does it in commerce. He does it in politics. Whether you like that style or not, it's effective. In this instance, maybe he thinks the Boston Mayor's got too much to say for us. Everybody wants to give us a smack, and he's going to use football as the opportunity to do it.
I think that's exactly it.
And that's up to Infantino, isn't it? If Infantino's a leader, he's going to put he's going to politic his way around that, because you can't play hard and fast with Donald Trump. They've all tried it. They all go into the Oval Office and they all sit there and they all go out with their backsides handed to them.
Nigel G is...
And Infantino will get the same thing.
Nigel G is one of a few who is on this one from a different standpoint. What egregious hypocrisy from Simon. He believes in the freedom of expression here in the UK for people to display the England flag, but happy for the free US broadcasters to be prevented from using their First Amendment right to show the hostile reaction to Trump at the US Open tennis.
What a strange interpretation of what I said.
A stalwart against political interference in sport, yet backs the political machinations of a would-be dictator to move World Cup matches for his own political ends. It's quite staggering.
What an interesting interpretation. What an interesting interpretation of, if there were legitimate safety issues. Of course the broadcasters can broadcast all the legitimate safety issues, because that would be lovely content to watch all dreadful scenes. If there are no safety issues and there's no legitimate concerns, then Trump shouldn't have his way, should he?
Yeah.
So that's my point. So I'm not quite sure what Nigel's talking about there. But I'm sure he has his own little view of what I said.
Actually, Chris is an Arsenal fan who's come to air and just wants to give us his view on this. Chris, good morning. What do you want to say on this?
Good morning, gents. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
We're sitting here talking about legitimate concerns for safety, but the legitimate concerns are only basically what Trump is saying. You know, he says this in Chicago. He says it in Portland as well. Yeah, if you watch videos of what's going on in Portland, you see people in frog suits standing in front of ice, laughing, dancing, joking. His behaviour is that of a petulant child.
To stage and host matches will have that privilege taken away from them. I don't know about you, Simon. I cannot see it happening.
I don't think so.
We're in October.
I don't think so either. So I think it's kind of nothing, really. And I think the outcome will be, as we said before. But when we talk about what people say, everything is about what people say. We had some Harvard professors come on here the other day, about 2 months ago, telling me that they had empirical evidence about how ICE was treating football fans inside a stadium after one football match, and they used the Club World Championship as their reference point. That's not empirical evidence. That's anecdotal.
Those same professors, Simon, also said, watch Trump. He'll use this World Cup for his own political agenda.
We all know where you're leaning, Jim, but the point is that the Observer made a point. The Observer made a point.
I'm providing
context. I don't have any skin in the game. I don't have any particular investment in liking Trump or disliking it. I don't have a particular belief system. I think people are effective or they're not. The point I was making was, the caller, as you just heard him say, is this is what Trump said. So I'm giving an alternate argument which we had 2 professors coming on saying what people are experiencing inside football stadiums is tantamount to some form of state-enforced terrorism by hiking them out of the stadium. I asked them what they based that upon, and they said empirical evidence. And I said, what's your empirical evidence? They said the Club World Championship. I said, well, it's 1 game old. How's that empirical evidence? So people say things and we get different prisms. We've seen terrible things happening in the world and we get broadcasters showing it in one way or another. Depends upon their leaning. In this instance, if there are no safety issues, then Trump should not be indulged.
I mean, Trump
should be the person saying it.
To finish this off, and thanks for your call, Chris, Trump is saying yesterday, we can take them away, the matches. I love the people of Boston. He says, but I would say to Gianni, I would call Gianni Infantino, the head of FIFA, who's phenomenal, apparently. And I would say, let's move it to another location. And he would do it. He wouldn't love to do it, but he'd do it very easily. I doubt it.
Well, I'm pretty sure they probably said the same things about what he's achieved in Gaza. So, with due respect, he tends to get things done. We'll see. At the end of the day, what we hope for is that there isn't any safety issues and that the tournament goes ahead with the scheduled cities that he, in part, put forward as part of the bid.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that will happen.
I mean, people are going along with it, aren't they? They're going along with the likes of Boston being a venue. They bought tickets.
Indeed.
They're ready to go to matches at the World Cup. It sounds to me, and yeah, Trump is moving and shaking on a variety of things, Simon, but it sounds to me that he's opening his gob and just letting it go.
That's what he does.
And I cannot
That's what he does.
I cannot see anything changes regarding the cities that have been nominated to host the World Cup.
Unless there's a legitimate concern
next summer.
And if he can't, if Trump is able to, if we're able to sit here and there is absolutely zero legitimacy and it's proven to be the case, then there should be something said about it. Because precisely what you're alluding to is precisely what's happening. Right now, what we're basing it upon is that Trump's a blowhard, has his own particular agenda, and there's no substance behind it. If that's true, then it will find its level, and Gianni Infantino needs to have the courage of his convictions. And if he doesn't, then we should be asking him why an organisation like FIFA isn't doing what it should be doing, which is protecting the fabric of the tournament that they negotiated.
I'm going to answer the question that Big Davy, who sent in a message this morning, is asking me now. Any news on Rangers? Asks Big Davy. So we're going from Trump and the World Cup to Rangers in Scotland, but we can easily do that. That's what we're all about. Danny Stephen Gerrard, your pal from long time ago, but is not going to be going back for a second spell at Rangers. And maybe Kevin Muscat, former player, is going to go there. He's emerged as the new favourite for the Rangers job. Is there much about Muscat this morning that would spring to mind for you to say, yeah, why not?
Well, I mean, I don't know him, and I don't really have a great knowledge of his body of work other than what I've read and the things he's won in far countries that we don't know much about the quality and how he's had his success unless you look into it more deeply. So it would be a risk, but I suppose he's got a connection with the club. He's had some success. Anyone who goes in there is climbing a mountain trying to overcome Celtic with the current Rangers squad and their lack of budget compared to Celtic. You know, you are asking for somebody to do a very, very difficult job. But there is loads of room for improvement. So for someone, it's probably quite appealing. I would imagine that Muscat wouldn't be the fans' first choice or somebody they'd be begging to get through the door.
I think they are warming to him. I mean, I was talking to some Rangers fans, some friends of mine that I know live in Glasgow, and there is a warming towards Muscat. That might be because they've been beaten down by the appointment of Russell Martin, and they're looking like if you're in a desert and someone gives you sand in your thirsty, they're convinced you that quenches your thirst. But it's interesting because Muscat comes from the same place as Ange Postecoglou. He managed the same team, and arguably...
Or in Japan, was it Yokohama?
Correct.
Yeah.
So if Celtic looked to Ange Postecoglou and the credentials, and obviously there was more work behind that, but his current employment was with the same side that Muscat has recently managed more successfully with a bigger win record. If it was good enough for Celtic... Why in the good? I mean, my recollection.
I suppose you could argue that Ange was walking into a Celtic squad that was already more than capable.
But what they're asking Rangers is to be better.
Yeah, no.
And there's got to be a tacit acceptance.
Yeah.
And there's going to have to be a period of time. What they're not expecting is what Russell Martin delivered. They've got to expect, if there's an acceptance that Rangers aren't as good as Celtic, what they're going to look for someone to come and do is drag it up and drag it up fast. Right? What they didn't see from Russell Martin was that. But they didn't give Russell Martin... He didn't deserve it in the end, but they didn't give him a chance. They'd already made their mind up. They were already booing him in pre-season friendlies. So it was already die was already cast. Muscat comes into a different setup. They've vented their spleen. They've told everybody what they think.
Yeah, they'll get behind him.
Muscat will get some more latitude. But if he draws his first 5 games, or anyone comes in, you know, whoever comes in, if my suggestion, Rafa came in and drew his first 5 games, they'll be on his back.
The problem is with Muscat, isn't there? There's a little caveat with Muscat in the fact that I don't think he can get out till the end of November. I know we're not that far away, but Rangers are in dire need now, aren't they?
Well, that's right. I mean, it's being reported up there that former Rangers midfielder Neil McCann, winger Neil McCann, could step in as interim boss until Muscat finishes up in Asia. I mean, if you're interviewing Muscat today, Simon, and he's saying, yeah, I want it, and I am the man, and you decide, more importantly, yeah, he is my man, would you just say, incidentally, forget about those games in Asia, you're out of there as of now, and you're here for us this Saturday when we play Dundee United?
Well, if I was wearing my Rangers hat, yeah, I'll be saying, no, come on now. If I were wearing an objective hat, which is I respect the man's loyalty and integrity, and I look forward to him reciprocating that with me.
Right.
Because you see people behaving in a certain way, you anticipate that when the time comes, if Kevin Muscat comes to Rangers and is successful, because I'm bringing him to be successful, someone else is going to covet him. I'll appreciate him not doing what we're attempting to do to him at the current club that he's at now.
Yeah.
But on the other side, if I'm Rangers, I'm like, well, I want you now. Can I hold it together for 2 weeks? I think we can probably hold it together for 2 weeks.
It's more like 6 weeks. Isn't
Is it 6 weeks?
End of November, I think.
Is it?
was
Well,
reading.
we'll put it out there. I mean,
Their season ends.
The comment was that Derek McInnes of Hearts, not long at Hearts, is appreciated by those who are going to make the appointment at Rangers, whatever that means. But Muscat, nonetheless, has emerged as the new favourite. Rangers fans, would you be having that? In the passing, if you want to come to air and give us a reason as to why you would definitely want Muscat in the job to succeed Russell Martin, or why you definitely not want him in the job, give us a call. 03717 223344 81089. Here's a question for you. Sweden, with the likes of Alexander Isak and Victor Gyökeres, have got a battle in their hands to make it to the World Cup finals next summer. Are they going to do it with Graham Potter at the helm? We'll get to that very shortly. In the meantime, the Women's Cricket World Cup is well in full swing. England, Pakistan. Here's John Norman.
England have lost a fifth wicket, 54 for 5. Emma Lamb has just been castled by Sadia Iqbal, the slow left armour, and England have got off to a really poor start. Win today against a team they've never lost to in a Cricket World Cup. They go back to the top of the table, but if they're going to do it, they're going to have to rely on some of their less heralded stars. Pakistan on top early. Amy Jones and Tammy Beaumont both dismissed in single figures, and then the two big breakthroughs, Heather Knight, LBW signer for 18, and Nat Sivabrunt bowled by the same bowler for just 4. Dunkley is there, she's 8 not out, but Emma Lamb's just been dismissed, and England are going to have to tough this one out. Less than 10 overs bowled, and England 54 for 5.
John, thanks very much indeed. When you look at the Swedish side that played Kosovo the other night in the Ullevi Stadium in Stockholm and lost by a single goal to 0, then you think, well, how could that happen? Some more than decent names in that lineup. Victor Gyökeres, Alexander Isak, Lucas Bergvall of Tottenham.
No, they didn't play.
Even Victor Lindelof in there as well. But one wonders how it happened. But it did happen. And they lost it by a single goal to 0. And that meant that Sweden have got a job in their hands to get to next summer's World Cup finals. They can no longer qualify automatically. It may be via a playoff. And in the interim period, they sacked a manager, John Dahl Tomasson. The name on many people's lips over there at the moment is Graham Potter. Is he going to take over? Swedish sports journalist Daniel Kristoffersson joins us live on the show this morning. Daniel, good morning. What is going on? Is Potter in line?
Yeah, I think he's in line. He's been asked to take over the Swedish national team when they took in Jon Dahl Tomasson, but then he said no. And after a time, he took over West Ham. So he's definite candidate for the job. And he's open for the job also because he made an interview here in Sweden yesterday and said that he would, that he was open for to take over. So we'll see what happens if the Swedish FA will contact him during the next days or the next week. But he will definitely be a candidate.
Would he be a popular choice, Daniel, do you think? I mean, he's had experience out there at Östersund between 2011 and 2018. So Swedes know him.
Yeah, he's been a great coach and manager here in Sweden. He has a very good reputation. When he was when they asked him before and he said no, there was no one in his supporter in Sweden would think that they will had a chance to get Graham Potter. But when it's now open for it, maybe there is a chance. But there are also many other candidates in line. Olof Mellberg is also a name that I've heard is on the list of the Swedish new manager. So it will be a race for the job, and the Swedish FA will start to evaluate the candidates now in the upcoming weeks.
Daniel, Danny Murphy and Simon are with me back here in studio. Simon, what would your take be on that? Sacked by Chelsea, sacked by West Ham, and now being lined up for a more than decent international job.
Is it? I mean, they've had great players in the past. Henrik Larsson, Thomas Brolin, who played for Palace, were good Swedish players, but they've never had a particularly great team. And they're a difficult team to play against. They're always a team that we've had battles with, but they're not a world-beating team. So where does it take you from being part of a project of this Chelsea revolution where he was sought after, we know, with these billionaires that have paid the world record fee for a football club, brought him into Chelsea, out of the door within 5 or 6 months, into West Ham, out of the door 5 or 6 months, into international football. There's no doubt Graham Potter is a decent coach. There's no doubt that he's done decent jobs, specifically at Brighton and to a lesser degree, I suspect, at Swansea, and certainly in Sweden. But it's not a trajectory that goes up. It depends how contract he takes. If it's a transactional basis, similar to Thomas Tuchel. But in this instance, if they're not qualifying for a World Cup, it's probably a longer-term situation in terms of building for the Euros, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, why has it been difficult for the Swedes in this qualifying campaign? Because, I mean, Simon's mentioned some decent players from the past, but you have some very decent players in there today.
Yeah. Today, if you look at the players who play for Sweden now in the starting 11, you have Isak Hien, who won the Europa League with Atalanta. You have Gabriel Gudmundsson in the Premier League. You have Victor Lindelöf in Aston Villa. You have Hugo Larsson, who played for Eintracht Frankfurt, played the Champions League football. And then, of course, you have Alexander Isak. You have Dejan Kulusevski when he's fit. You have Gyökeres. You have Anthony Elanga. Many of us here in Sweden compare this team to the golden generation we have, like 2004 when we nearly beat the Netherlands in the quarterfinal for the Euro. Then you had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you had Henrik Larsson, you had Anders Svensson, you had the top players at the highest level, Freddie Youngberg. So if you compare to where they play and where they have Rooney Baraji now also in Barcelona, so where they play now, I think you have a great potential. So that's why I think it will be a good opportunity to take Sweden, because as it has looked under Jon Dahl Tomasson, you had Alexander Isak, Victor Gyökeres, Lucas Bergvall. Tomasson got they to look like Sunday League footballers. So it was a disaster.
Oh. Daniel, listen, thank you so much for joining us. Daniel Kristoffersson, Swedish sports journalist. Danny, he's outlined it there. They've got some more than decent players, and Potter would be inheriting that should he get the job.
It's quite an exciting squad, and they've still got a chance, haven't they, because of their Nations League form to get in the playoffs. Sorry, you were right, by the way. They did all start. I was looking at the opposite fixture and the lineups there, but with Isak and Gyökeres up top, and the likes of Bergvall and the other lads he's mentioned, they shouldn't be losing the games they're losing. So for Potter and any other person looking at that job, you're looking at the Pete personnel and thinking, easy room for improvement here, and still a great chance to lead in a side to the World Cup. He's probably quite fortunate if he gets the job in after recent failings.
Well, if they can qualify via the playoffs, he's really in business.
Yeah, and
he's at the helm.
But the other thing for him as well is it's probably a really appetising opportunity for him, because he is well thought of over there, and also the pressure's not the same at international.
He's been battered here, isn't it? It's interesting, a manager's journey. This manager that's just been fired from Sweden was a hero at Blackburn and
he did really well, actually,
and was actually a major campaigner for Isak to be able to do precisely as he wanted and leave Newcastle, and he was absolutely right. And his reward for that is seemingly the players that he has supported and patronised have been
You're
described.
right, he backed Isak, didn't
Indeed, he did.
Yeah.
And talked about the fact that he should be, and this Swedish journalist has just turned around and said he turned him into Sunday League players. I mean, what does that say?
They're kind of separate issues.
Oh, I know, but the point is that they are and they aren't, because it's the players on the field, with due respect to the coach, if you've got players on the field of that kind of calibre, they shouldn't be getting beat by teams like Kosovo.
No, exactly.
The coach could be Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
They should be able to go out there and achieve a job. So it's on the players.
Well, you heard there from our new chum, Swedish sports journalist Daniel Kristoffersson, that Potter indeed has been interviewed for the job and is likely to get it. We'll watch that with interest. It's 11:30.
Stuart Pearce has given his verdict on Thomas Tuchel's starting options after England booked their place at the World Cup. The former England captain has told talkSPORT that right now Elliot Anderson's a starter and Declan Rice is a shoo-in. So there's only one place available in that midfield three.
It's Bellingham, it's Foden, it's Palmer, and only one of them can get in that role. Morgan Rogers is playing it very well at the moment.
Pearce also says Kane needs wide players like Saka and Gordon who run past him. Meanwhile, Tuchel has 4 more games before naming his squad for North America. The World Cup draw is on December the 5th, and Donald Trump is threatening to take games away from the city of Boston.
If I feel there's unsafe conditions, I would call Johnny, the head of FIFA, who's phenomenal, and I would say, let's move it to another location.
Now, South Africa, Senegal and the Ivory Coast are the latest African qualifiers, while Qatar and Saudi Arabia are also in, but there's some real controversy in Asian qualifying.
When I was in Australia, the playoffs would be in a neutral venue. Then when I went to the AFC draw in Malaysia, it was the 2 highest ranked teams. Iraq was 1 place higher than Saudi Arabia.
Iraq coach Graham Arnold speaking there after the Saudis were given the advantage of playing both 4th-round matches at home following a secretive bidding process.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
It's that time. We're joined by Sean Martin from BetMGM to look at today's top sporting events and discuss the latest odds round and about them. Now, Sean, let's kick off with it. We were talking about Kevin Muscat moments ago and Rangers. What do you guys know at the moment regards betting trends at BetMGM?
Morning, lads. So there has been loads of movement in this market over the past few days, and until around 20 minutes ago, I was all set to discuss the merits of Kevin Muscat with you. He'd come in from 5-1 at the start of the week to evens favourite yesterday, and even this morning, he'd been cut to 3-10. But actually, in the last 20-30 minutes or so, there has been movement once again in the market towards one Steven Gerrard, Jim. Now, we went into the weekend with Gerrard seemingly close to the job. By the time Monday swung round, it was former Sheffield Wednesday boss Danny Rowell into favourite. Now he's drifted to 7s. Same story with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He came way in from 40-1 on Monday to 3-1. He's back out at 7s alongside Rowell. The upshot of that, gents, is that Gerrard now back in as favourite, hovering around the even money mark, so way back in. And Kevin Muscat is second favourite. He's oscillated between 6-4 and 7-4, with the rest pretty much as you were. Don't suppose you've heard anything?
Well, I'm asking certain questions on this at the moment, but Sean, thanks for that. So what do we read into it, Simon? I mean, when you hear something like this, you have to think, well, there's something in that, the significance of it, but he is seemingly back in the frame.
Based upon bookies odds, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how their actuaries work and how they formulate their odds and how money gets poured into a particular individual, and obviously they react to it. I mean, I've never understood why the necessity that the information regarding Gerrard and Rangers talking was public domain, needed to be in the public domain. I know these things are difficult to control, but they employed a bloody England manager of anyone knowing. So if you want to be able to control it and suppress it and make sure that the two parties don't talk in the media, then if that was the situation, I don't understand why they couldn't have, if Gerrard's back in, why couldn't they have resolved whatever issues they had in their much publicised meeting? I would suspect it's something to do with his contract in Saudi. I would suspect there's some degree of financial adjustment to the adjustments he may have to make by finding himself back in the awful position of being a taxpayer.
You would think, Sean, I'm coming back to you, but Danny, you know the man, you know Stephen. You would think when he was in the frame and the supporters are thinking he's coming back, he knows the kind of welcome he would get. And he would, because he won 55 for them. And that has put them in their minds right up there. Then he went to Villa, and we know all that. But the feeling up there is, my understanding is, the vast majority would want him back following the debacle that was Russell Martin. He would want to go back on the strength of that popularity as well, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the reasons he would or he wouldn't, to be honest with you, because I haven't spoken to him. But the reality is that it's hard to look past the obvious, which is what Simon's talking about. And if it is that, I don't blame him for using his position of strength to put them in a corner. If you want me that badly, then you pay.
Okay.
I mean, people can call it greed, but it's the way football is. Managers and players across the board, across the world, do the same thing every week.
So, Sean, do you want to just reaffirm that news for us, that Gerrard has now re-emerged in the betting, so much so that he's out-and-out favourite?
Yeah, I mean, it's close. He's actually, even just as I'm talking now, he's moved from evens to 5-4, which is slightly out the way. Kevin Muscat 64, so it's still considered close between the two of them. I heard you talking about Kevin Muscat. I heard you mention 55 there, Jim.
Yeah.
What I would mention is, I think it's kind of forgotten about that was the situation Ange Postecoglou inherited at Celtic. Steven Gerrard had just won the league, had just went undefeated. Celtic had a bit of a shambles, really. So I wouldn't discount the job that Ange did when he came in there either. I think there's parallels there with Kevin Muscat, not just the fact that both Australian, obviously, but
yeah,
the teams that they've got in common, as Simon said, Kevin Muscat's went to two different teams that Ange Postecoglou had just recently vacated and coached with them in Australia. So there's definitely parallels there.
Okay, funnily enough, we're going to be hearing from former Rangers player Graham Roberts in a bit, who's won a battle of his own, and I'll get to that. Latvia 0, England 5, Sean. You're thrilled, so am I, and you might want to give us their outright World Cup odds now.
Yep, straightforward, routine 5-0 win for England. Makes them the first European qualifier for the World Cup. Portugal almost got there as well, but after another 2 goals from Ronaldo, but Dominic Szoboszlai's late equaliser prolonged their wait. Italy hit Israel for 3. They're starting to look a lot better under Gattuso. Remember him, probably going to go down to a last match decided with Norway, you'd think, for them. England are in at 13-2 joint second favourites alongside France to win the whole thing over in North America. Spain 4-1 market leaders, Brazil there at 7s, Argentina at 8s, and then Germany and Portugal at 12s. Italy, who I just mentioned there, are 33-1, which leads me to a quick bit of trivia for you, lads, that we spoke about this morning in the BetMGM call. Can you tell me the last time Italy won a World Cup finals knockout game?
A World Cup finals knockout game? Not off the top of my head. Danny? Anything in that?
Well, the reason he's obviously asking the question because it's been a while. I'll go with
2005, way back then.
Brazil.
Do you know,
in Brazil?
Jim was actually close there, even though there was no World Cup in 2005. It was actually
2006, winning. Sean. Did I say 5?
Yes, you did.
That's great.
Was that?
Simon's got the best way of approaching a question like that, completely out of the blue, by keeping his trap shut.
It seems crazy, but the last time was actually when they won the whole tournament in 2006. Group stage exits are not qualified every time since then, even though they've made 2 Euros finals and, of course, won one, as we remember. And that's
yeah. Okay. What about the odds as to who makes England's World Cup squad?
Yeah, so I heard you discuss Jordan Pickford earlier. For sure, he's one of a clutch of players very much odds on in the market to make the squad and not really up for debate in terms of inclusion. He's the same odds as Harry Kane, for instance, both 20-1 on. But there are debates in other areas of the pitch outside of goalkeeper, really. Midfield, for instance, I heard Danny earlier with Jude Bellingham. It's more about starting, never really whether he'll make the squad full stop. But we've got Jordan Henderson 6-4 to make the squad, and you'd think the fact that he's been recalled at all suggests that Thomas Tuchel wants him about the place. But you've also got Elliot Anderson 1-2, and Adam Wharton also less than even money at 7-10. 7-2 for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I was talking to a Chelsea fan earlier. He's pointed out that he's been in the last 2 squads and that he's a Thomas Tuchel favourite, played under him more times than any other coach. You take Declan Rice and Bellingham as a given. So I suppose the question becomes, is he really going to take that many for those two midfield roles, Danny? What's the sketch there?
No, I think you probably named most of the candidates. There's always somebody that comes late. You know, you think. I remember Kobe Mainoo ended up playing, didn't he, in the last tournament when nobody really thought he was going to 6 months before. So there's always someone that comes late. But yeah, it's hard to look past Elliot Anderson and Henderson as two you mentioned as competing to play alongside Declan Rice.
Does that mean Adam Wharton misses out for you, do you think?
I think he might, yeah.
When is this guy going to be given a shot? I mean, people speak to us all the time, Simon, about Adam Wharton.
I love him. He'd be in my squad. He'd be in my squad. But I just looking at the times he's been fit and available, I mean, what was it? The last international when he got put with the 21s.
Right.
And I wouldn't have him there. I think he's...
Yeah, you only hear great things about him. And we only hear great things about you, Sean. And today's no exception. Thank you very much. Visit BetMGM, visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
on a show like this, as you might imagine, we get a lot of reaction to some of the subject matter and the way we discuss it. And I'm delighted about that. And I'm delighted about how popular this show has become. In no small measure, thanks to my friend to my left, Mr. Simon Jordan, and his contribution every morning. But not everybody is always very happy when they hear Simon speak and speak his mind. And that's what he does. And I'm delighted that he does. A letter flooded in to the talkSPORT building the other day. Dear talkSPORT team, I've listened carefully to Simon Jordan's recent comments suggesting a Premier League 2 with 40 sustainable clubs and his description of the rest of us, particularly League 2 owners, as communist Bolsheviks and imbeciles. Leaving aside the tone, the argument misses a fundamental truth. And then the author of the letter goes on to explain that the Premier League does not own English football. It simply occupies the summit of a pyramid built by others. The modern game, we're told in the letter, owes its structure, culture and depth to the very clubs that Simon wants to cast aside. You might get a clue as to who's written this letter. At Colchester United, for example, we generated £13 million of measurable social value last season through education projects, youth sport, community health initiatives. And it goes on, I have tremendous respect for Simon. His opinion carries weight and he usually argues it brilliantly, but his experience of ownership was 2 decades ago in a very different football economy. So, let's get to the author of the letter. And the chairman of Colchester United Football Club, Robbie Cowling, joins us live. Robbie, good morning.
Good morning, Jim.
Good to have you on board. The man you're having a swipe at is sitting right next to me. You took exception, was it, to not only the content, but Simon's tone on this?
Yeah, I think, look, first of all, let me say, I often agree with Simon. I agree what he says. I think he's really good at arguing his point. And I think he has a lot of power in the game. And this is quite an important issue, especially to a lot of the lower league clubs. You know, what's happening at the moment with the independent regulator coming in. It's really quite important. And as I say, he's got a strong opinion in the game. And it's listen, he calls us imbeciles and Bolsheviks. I don't mind. I'm a League 2 chairman. I can take insults all day long. But when he talks about casting clubs asunder, I think that's really dangerous. That's a really dangerous point to make. You know, I think the clubs do a lot of good. I think the Premiership is built on top of a pyramid. You know, it sits at the top of a pyramid, which is so important to the game. And I don't believe that you can take away that pyramid and leave the Premiership any sort of healthy position in the long run. I think, you know, it stands on the shoulders, for want of a better expression. So that's why I took exception to. I'm not having a swipe at Simon. I think I think he does really well at what he does. But on this point, I don't understand where he's coming from, especially with his background with owning a football club. I think he would see the game differently.
Where are you coming from, Simon? Because further down the line, and it's not something that is unlikely, it may well emerge that we have a Premier League 1 and a Premier League 2.
Yeah.
That was your view.
Yeah, it's not my want. And that's where Robbie seems to have not listened. It's not my want. It's my suggestion as what's likely to happen. And the language is robust. I didn't describe all of the chairmen in League 2 as imbeciles. I have certain targets in my mind in terms of who I was referring to. I think it's ridiculous to suggest that an independent regulator is going to be good for the wellness of the game. Robbie might have a different view. We can all disagree and have a different view on things. I don't look at the Premier League. The Premier League was formed in spite of the Football League. And if you look at what happened prior to the Premier League's formation, football in this country was really heading for the bankruptcy courts, really challenged by the economic landscape. And the one overriding success has been the Premier League. Now, I've often campaigned and believe in the idea of a fairer distribution. The consequence of it it's even ridiculous because even in the EFL, the distribution argument is ludicrous because they're campaigning for a distribution model that they replicate themselves by giving 80% of it currently to the Championship, 12% to League 1 and 8% to League 2. I'm very well across the landscape. I may well have been out of the industry for 15 years and maybe some of the numbers have changed. That hasn't stopped me trying to buy a couple of football clubs recently, having a brother that was a chief executive of a League 2 football club, so I got a visibility of the thinking. And with due respect to the thinking, I think that some of the thinking... I listened to the Mansfield chairman the other day campaigning for more regulation in sport. Any entrepreneur worth his salt doesn't want more regulation. It wants sensible governance, but it doesn't want over-regulation. And when I've sat with the independent regulator and looked at it, my fears of what the independent regulator will do beyond perhaps redistributing, I think are well seeded. So whilst I perhaps could row back on some of the language.
What, the imbeciles bit?
Well, yeah, I wasn't directing it at Robbie, so Robbie doesn't need to take offence at it.
Where you regards regulation, Robbie?
Well, first of all, Simon, I didn't take offence at that.
Good.
And as I said, I've got very
good lad.
skin, which you grow after 19 years of being a
good lad.
You know, so I didn't take offence at that at all. As I say, I think my problem is you are a powerful voice in the game, and I'd rather that voice was behind, you know, supporting the pyramid system than being against it. I think that's the main thing. I really value the pyramid system in this country. I think it's a fantastic system.
But Robbie, you're suggesting I don't. What you're suggesting is that my belief of what's going to happen is my desire for it to happen. I think for the first time in years, you've got effective leadership, mate. You've got effective leadership in Rick Parry and Trevor Birch. You've got an opportunity to pull a lever that may well get some redistribution. But if that is overreached by the regulator, and I have seen for years, I used to sit in Football League meetings and drive myself insane listening to League One and League Two chairmen with small-minded thinking. Because ultimately there was a lot of it, and there is still a lot of it, and that doesn't necessarily mean you. And with all respect, I remember your former chairman, Peter Hurd, who was the chairman of a business that I did with quite a lot in the property market, was one of those small-minded thinkers. So there's an irony about that. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think I've said anything controversial. Tragically, the way that it's going with ownership models, and the way that it will continue to go, and the way that the independent regulator is going to require you guys to fund him, I think there's some real challenges.
Yeah, so look, it would be really good if we didn't need an independent regulator.
True.
Sadly, we do need one because the game just can't regulate itself. And when you owned a football club, you owned a team, you took them in the Premiership, and that's what you could afford at that time as a local businessman. You could afford that. With the wealth you had at that time, even if you adjusted it by today's standards, you wouldn't be looking at buying into a Premiership club, I don't believe, Simon, because it's just what
but
your
my argument is you've got to cut your club accordingly, isn't it, Robbie? My argument is you've got to cut your club accordingly. And
yeah,
I'm not suggesting I'm not suggesting these teams aren't valuable and that you aren't massive assets in the community. I've actually mentioned things like putting blue plaques above the door of Football League clubs to protect the community status. But I don't think that my expressing what I think is going to happen, watching the direction of travel, watching the ownership models, watching the challenges and saying this is what I think is going to happen is not the same as me saying this is what I want to happen.
Okay, but because I do think you have a lot of opinion and you are a big voice in the game, I don't think we have to sit back and think what's going to happen. I think we can drive what happens, you know. And I do truly believe that the pyramid system is fantastic for this sport. Okay, it's an absolute for football, which is brilliant, and it protects the national game. The Premier League didn't invent football. Okay, the teams that formed the Premier League, there's only 3 of them the original EFL. All those many years ago, there's only 3 of them currently in the Premier League.
World's turned, Robbie, mate. World's turned, mate.
The world turned. No, it does. But what I'm saying, they didn't invent the game. All right, they've inherited it, and I believe the Premier League, along with all of us, have a duty of care to the game, and that's my.
Well, they would argue that the solidarity payments that get pushed down from them, and we would argue, and I would argue in your favour that it's not enough. But the golden goose in English football is the Premier League, and that needs to be protected because ultimately, without the Premier League, so my worry is the independent regulator attacking the Premier League and creating a situation where you're going to drive a European Super League, and then you'll have real problems in English football like you had back in the 70s and 80s, where the game was bankrupt. And it doesn't matter what kind of owners you got then, because no bugger will be investing in English football in the same way that they are now.
But the Premier League also needs protecting from itself, okay? And sometimes there's going to be some real short-term thinking, not the long-term.
Agreed.
You know, if you look at let's take Colchester as an example. We mentioned the community side, but let's look at what else we do. We've got an ECCC Cat 2 academy.
Yep.
Okay, costs us £1.8 million a year to run that academy. Okay, so we're not only I'm also realistic, right? Just about everyone at Colchester wants to be somewhere else, and so they should do. They should be ambitious to want to move up through it, and it's great that we can take them on that journey. And many of the things I've enjoyed about being a chairman is seeing people go on that journey. But the system that's there's like this vacuuming up of the talent and the way that talent can be taken from those teams. So I'm not looking for a handout for the lower league teams, and I don't think many of us are. I think what we're looking for is a fairer way of getting compensated for the value we have.
And that's fair.
I hate the term.
That's fair, Robbie, but it was clubs like yours, with due respect, that voted for EPP 15, 16 years ago that gave away the compensation rights on young players because they're getting solidarity payments of 250 grand a year. That's the kind of small-minded thinking that the League Ones and League Two clubs foisted upon the EFL.
Well, we're sort of taken advantage of often, Simon, in that regard, because we do struggle. A lot of clubs struggle financially, okay? And when something's put on the table, often things are being bought. You know, there's a short-term gain that, sadly, you're right.
That's true, mate. I agree with you.
Which is bad in the long term. And I'm arguing that at the moment, what might be good for the Premier League in this short term is not going to be good in the long term for the English football.
Robbie, let me jump in and we'll give you the last word. But I mean, Simon, do you value the pyramid?
Yes, but I'm a realist. And whilst I take Robbie's point that certain things can be pushed back against, and I'm not suggesting that the EFL is not valued, I'm suggesting that there is going to be a sea change because I'm looking at the direction of travel, looking at the money that's owning football clubs, looking at where it's going and thinking this is where it lands.
Which is not what you actually want.
I'm not advocating for
what
it.
What will happen to clubs like Colchester?
They'll have to cut their cloth accordingly. They'll have to run the way that they are being run now. They'll have to distribute revenues the way they're distributing revenues now. And they'll have to accept it to some extent. And there is an argument, and Robbie will bristle at this, there is an argument to suggest that the pyramid cannot sustain 92 professional football clubs and compete in the way there is. Is that ideal? No.
Okay, Robbie, finish this off for us.
Well, first of all, I'm going to argue with that. There's not 92 professional clubs. If you go down now into the leagues below it, the National League is all but professional as well.
Make my argument bigger then, 116 clubs.
Absolutely, yeah. So it can. I think this can support a lot more than that. I went to a game at Bishop Stortford last night. Well, that's step 7. You know, it's fantastic clubs like that, what they're doing. And there's no reason why those clubs shouldn't be sustainable. We have a fantastic national sport. On the shoulders of that, you've got the Premiership riding, and there's enough money to feed a lot more of that down, not just to the EFL, I'm not just arguing that, into grassroots as well. It's a fantastic opportunity to do it. And in the long term, the Premier League benefit from it, as does the national team. We saw how well England are doing. How would they be doing if it wasn't for the EFL and all the minutes that those players have played or come from EFL teams? I mean,
I'm a great example of the pyramid. You know, I went from Division 4 to the Premier League and used that ladder. I know it's changed a little bit, but still I was a huge beneficiary from the pyramid and what it did for me. So I think with Simon thinking
how have
the
we
benefit
got to this position? It's a straw man argument. You're combating me with a straw man argument. I don't suggest that the EFL should be disbanded. I'm simply saying why are we in this position? Because the Football League 30 years were asleep. They allowed this to happen. They had an opportunity to have distribution and they didn't do anything about it. They've been poorly managed for 30 years. A lot of that's been because of the construct of the Constitution. And I sat there and watched it. So I don't think anything I have to say I have to apologise for. I might be a little bit less robust.
Communistic Bolsheviks and imbeciles.
But I think
bristled a few people.
Well, it depends who I'm directing it at.
Yeah,
I'm not directing it at
I think what he's saying quickly is use your voice for more solution-based things that can help them rather than...
It's not my job to help them. It's their job to help themselves.
And I think Robbie knows that. Robbie Cowling, chairman of Colchester United Football Club. If you're still listening, thank you for your contribution and thank you for your letter. It's 12 noon.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Former England midfielder Danny Murphy questions what we've really learned about Tuchel's team in qualifying, but does expect more positive performances at next summer's World Cup.
I think if you're playing Spain in 30-degree heat, you can't go after them for more than 10 or 15 minutes. You've got to be cute and clever and maybe pick people who can counter really well for you, because Spain will dominate the ball. But I don't see Tuchel being too single-minded in playing one way all the time. He's not daft.
New Brentford signing Anthony Milambo has been ruled out for the rest of the season. The midfielder suffered an ACL injury while playing with the Netherlands under-21s. Now, there are ongoing discussions about how effective taking a knee is amid a rise in online hate crimes. Players will make the gesture this weekend for the first time this season as part of the Premier League's No Room for Racism campaign. Chief Exec Richard Masters says more needs to be done to address racism on social media.
There's an anonymity to it, I think, which perhaps wrongly, in my view, gives people the view that they can pretty much say and do what they want.
Masters was asked if he'd prefer identity checks for social media accounts.
I would be, in principle, supportive of, but I think that goes to a lot of other issues about freedom of information.
And at the Women's Cricket World Cup, England are really struggling against Pakistan. John Norman's watching.
Wow, this is tricky for England. They started the day unbeaten, knowing a win would take them back to the top of the table. They're 78 for 6, and they've eaten up half of their overs as well. Pakistan have been all over them, and if not for a dropped catch, they'd be 7 down by now. 23 overs in, England are 78 for 6.
talkSPORT News.
The Israeli military says one of the bodies handed over by Hamas yesterday as part of the ceasefire deal is not a hostage that was held in Gaza. And a new poll suggests Reform UK would win a general election if held right now. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Rain or shine, our mobile tyre fitting service comes to you, so you can stay on the sofa this winter. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Mostly cloudy with outbreaks of drizzle in some places, particularly the southeast. Brighter spells mainly in Scotland and the west.
Good afternoon, it's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan and it's Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. The international break coming to an end as we returned to the domestic game at all levels, of course, not just the Premier League, at all levels. Big game in the Championship on Friday night gets it all underway, and thereafter a full Premier League programme this weekend. And then on Monday night, next Monday, West Ham United host Brentford. It's live on talkSPORT. A certain Danny Murphy will be on co-commentary duty that night. But the big question is this: how many West Ham fans are going to be inside the London Stadium to see what will be Nuno Espirito Santo's first home game in charge at the home of West Ham United? It is going to be the stage, we are told reliably from many of the supporters, for a proposed mass boycott. The supporters not at all happy with the people at the top of the club, Messrs David Sullivan and Karen Brady and one or two others. Having said that, after his first game in charge against Everton, the same Nuno Espirito Santo said, we've got to start mending things between the club and the fans.
I think what is important is to appreciate what our fans did traveling to Liverpool on a Monday night and giving the support that they given. And of course, it's our main priority that we come closer to our fans, to stretch the gap, and we have to deliver so they can appreciate the work of the boys. So it was a nice moment for us. Moving forward is important, this bond.
I can imagine you think, though, this is just a very, very small step forward.
Of course, we are starting now. We have a lot of work in front of us, but we are delighted and we embrace the challenge.
So on a football front, Nuno knows what he's getting involved in, and he probably knows what he's getting involved in terms of there's a disquiet amongst many of the supporters, one of whom joined us just the other day on this show, Paul Colborne. The chair of Hammers United spelt it out as to why they're not happy.
I do believe we can change things. People have asked me before if these protests bother the chairman. We did a protest 7 years ago, and Hammers United got what I believe is the biggest march at football in this country ever. But we will be beating that very soon. We're encouraging fans to boycott when we play Brentford at home. And what's encouraging, for an example, is there's a ticketing site whereby, say you can't make a match, you put your ticket on this site. They're refusing to take any orders, I suppose you'd call it, for Brentford. The one after that will be a sit-in after the match against Newcastle. And the one after that will be the biggie. This is the one everyone will come to, this is the big glorious thing. And, I have to say to West Ham fans that please, we need you at all of them. But we will be strolling, is the expression, to the gates. But the plan is to get a minimum of 10,000 out. And then by the end of the season, I don't think Sullivan will still be there.
Many neutrals in the game might be thinking, well, what is the point of it? There's a new man in charge of the football club, the football team, and yet he's going to be met by this proposed mass boycott amongst the fans on his first home game. So for the sake of Nuno Espirito Santo navigating an early season relegation fight, is this not the moment that West Ham fans everywhere should unite and get behind him and the team and attend the match? Dan Lawless is the host of West Ham Fan TV. Dan, good afternoon to you. That would be my first question for you. Is this not the time that you take your seats and get behind Nuno Espirito Santo and forget about any grievance about Sullivan and Brady?
Well, I have to say I'd hope we're not that fickle, because Nuno is, I believe, the fourth manager we've had in about 16 months. So if we're going to just put it off, we're not going to do the boycott now because it's Nuno's first game. We'll do it at the next one. We'll say we lose the Brentford game, and then the next game's really important. Well, this ain't the time to do it. There's never going to be a convenient time for this boycott. We just have to do it. And I'll remind people, when we say, well, us boycotting will affect the team, we've won 2 home games at that stadium in 2025. If we boycotted the away games, that would affect the team because we're much better away.
How unified are Hammers fans in this then, would you say, Dan? I mean, are we going to see a mass boycott on Monday night?
Look, you'll still see some fans there. There are some fans that, just I need to go to the game. I go with my family, or this is the one chance I get. I haven't been to a game all season. Or some people will go there and say, well, I need to support the team. So some people will go. We will truly say, I believe it's going to be noticeable how empty it is. And the fact that I'm on here now talking about it, the boycott's already been successful, no matter how many people go, because it's getting the media attention.
Will you be proud on the night of the boycott?
I think so, yeah. I have faith in the fan base. I think I'm going to be proud of fans taking action and actually standing up for something. Fans finally actually coming together and actioning our feelings. We had the first protest, which I came on and talked about, really good turnout. Now we do this, and hopefully that's a really good boycott.
And just before Simon comes in, Dan, why do you think this will in any way force David Sullivan to sell up?
Well, I just think it adds pressure. It makes it very uncomfortable for David Moyes. David Sullivan. He, as I said before last time I was on, he hates the negative attention. You look at Newcastle, I mentioned them before, Mike Ashley. It becomes really unbearable. And I think it's a point in his life, I don't need it. I don't need the stress. But we have to try something, even if it don't work. I want to say I tried.
Yeah. What do you think about this course of action, Danny? Simon, what do you think?
I think he makes a fair point in terms of, consistent protests and discontent for any owner is difficult. We've seen it before, and he used the Newcastle as a good example. I'm not saying it will necessarily work, but it's got to be uncomfortable with him. He is an older guy. He is maybe depending on, of course, his desires and what we don't know. I don't know him, but it's a club that I'm sure someone else would want. It will make him think. It's got to.
What will it make? It might make him think, Simon, but
maybe if they win,
we don't know.
Maybe if they win, the West Ham fans will be quite pleased with it and ask them not to come to the next game as well. Look, the fact of the matter is is that the only way David Sullivan will go, I suspect, is if someone's viable is going to buy it. You've got a guy in there that's bought a significant proportion of it, who's now responsible for the Royal Mail that's getting fined 25 million quid for not delivering parcels on time. No wonder they can't deliver any points. The fact is you've got an ownership model that will go if someone's prepared to pay the price. And if the fans believe, and it's their right, whether I agree with it or not is irrelevant, it's their right to support their team or not support their team as they see fit. And Sullivan has the hide of a rhinoceros. And the only thing that will take David Sullivan out of the door is the right amount of money. And David Sullivan is the arbiter of that.
But won't he be more, would you not be more likely to look for a buyer than not if you were constantly put under pressure?
Sure. But football clubs are more often bought than sold.
Mm.
Which means someone comes knocking on your door or they're in distressed situations. And I suppose the fans will say, well, we'll create distress. We'll create distress by the very nature of not spending the kind of money that we would ordinarily spend. And we will create the distress that creates the downward pressure. And they will perhaps reference the Birmingham situation where they put posters up around Birmingham for him, calling him either been sulking and stuff like that. And he didn't like it. And nobody likes being criticised, fairly or unfairly. And David Sullivan doesn't like it. What my overall view is that fans have a sense of entitlement. They'll say they don't. They have a sense of ownership. We have created, it's like I've said on many occasions, we have in society the politicians that our society perhaps deserves. And football perhaps now has the kind of owners, football clubs, that the fans deserve. They want the next foreigner that comes through the door. The stadium is the central issue. Yeah. David made a rod for his own back by saying certain things about it. But I don't think David is you know my view on David Sullivan. I'm the only person in the room that's done business with him. And I've known him for a long time. And I am no fan member of David Sullivan's club. But, David is not the devil incarnate, and neither was David Gold. And some of the things they were subjected to, specifically David Gold, was scandalous in the same way that some of the stuff that Bill Kenwright was subjected to was scandalous.
Dan, what would you say? I see some messages coming in from supporters of other clubs. It seems to some of them that some West Ham fans here, yourself included, are going from just being fans to activists.
Well, at the end of the day, they can't sympathise, they can't relate to us because, as Simon said, the stadium is the central issue. And that is something that can't be forgiven because they took 100 years of culture, heritage, history, and literally blew it up. And now we're here.
Will that not be an issue under a new ownership? The same issue?
Well, no, because what my hope is, so Dan Lawrence, and I believe a lot of other fans feel the same, is we get a new owner in and they can go and build us a new stadium. We can never get Upton Park back. That's the thing. But we can get something. And Simon, you can laugh, right?
You guys are away with yourselves. You're deluded. Oh. Someone's going to come in and buy your football club and go and build you a new stadium.
So hold up.
Grow up. Make the current one better for you, but grow up.
No, we can't. But how can we make the current one better?
No one's going to do it. That's silly, isn't it? No one's going to build you a new stadium.
It's not silly,
you can't do it in London. Roman Abramovich couldn't do anything with Chelsea. It's not easy to build new stadiums. The cost. Listen, think about it, right? Spurs have just told you, right, that they couldn't build this stadium again for anything less than £2.5 billion. Are you seriously going to have a grown-up conversation on a radio station where you expect someone to come in and buy your football club, get rid of someone you don't like, and then go build you a bloody stadium for £3 billion? Pack it in.
Well, no one's saying it's going to cost. I'm not here to talk about the costs, Simon. You don't know the costs. I don't know the costs.
I do know the cost of building a stadium. I do know the cost of it. I precisely know the costs of it.
Oh, okay, you know the cost. You've got the answers. Tell me how you make that stadium better, because we've had meetings with them.
I don't have to. You tell me how you're going to have to live with it.
I tell you how we can't make it better, because we've had meetings with them year after year.
Do you know what we've got out of these meetings? Coming into your little football club and spend £3 billion on West Ham for a football stadium. It's not going to happen. So it's a silly pipe dream. But get someone comes in that treats you better, maybe.
This is what I'm saying. We cannot make this stadium better because we don't own it. We have had pre-poured pints in place, beer shelves, non-West Ham fans waving flags at half-time. That's what they've decided to do to make better. We are so restricted because we don't own the stadium. They decided to sell what we owned and lease. And our hands are tied. So yeah, maybe
did Man City buy their stadium off the City of Manchester now? Because they took the same pill and they moved from Main Road to the Commonwealth Stadium, and we don't seem to have a 4-act play from their fans back in the day.
Yeah, well, like I said, they've got a football stadium. It's their stadium. But
It wasn't. It was a Commonwealth Games stadium.
Before,
if we could have bought
Dan,
the
let me jump in here and ask you this before we leave you, or before you leave us. What would you say to the West Ham players who'll take to the field on Monday night? Danny here will be in co-commentary duty, and who'll say, "We need your support."
Yeah, I would say, listen, at the end of the day, you know, we are supporting the club. As me boycotting, I'm believing I'm supporting them. I'm supporting them in trying to get out Sullivan and get them an owner who can actually push them to where they need to be. Jared Bowen has been excellent for us. He's not given any quality around him. So us turning up there in a stadium that we've only won 2 times this year isn't going to make a difference. When we was in COVID and no fans were there, all you lot was saying how we were winning because the fans aren't there. So at the end of the day, it's not about the players, it's not about the manager, but we have to do something. And Simon can laugh and scoff or whatever, but right now we have something that's not fit for purpose and won't be fit for purpose. So we'll keep doing what we have to do.
We'll watch it with interest on Monday night. Dan Lawless, host of West Ham Fan TV. Thank you very much, Danny. You're going to be there, maybe on your own.
Well, I would hope 20,000, 30,000 of them don't turn up, to be honest, because it means getting out in the traffic would be much better.
Right. Speaking for yourself, the game is live on talkSPORT. Wednesday lunchtime, you know, when I mention the name of a former player of Tottenham, Rangers and Chelsea, Graham Roberts, you'll think of a tough tackling, no-nonsense defender. But recently, life has been tough on Graham. About 6-7 months ago, he was away on a cruise with his wife, and he got the kind of bad health news that none of us want to hear. In actual fact, my friend and colleague, Mr. Jordan, got similar news and came through it. So Graham is about to tell his story here about his life over the past 6 months or so. So picture the scene. He's on holiday, and then he discovered very bad news was coming his way. This was Graham speaking to me earlier.
It was about 6 months ago. I had a blood test, and then sort of just left it at that. And because I've had problems with my heart as well, I've got a pacemaker. So yeah, I got a phone call and they said we need you to have a prostate blood test. So I went to that. I told them I was going on holiday 2 days later to South Africa and on a cruise, and they went, yeah, that's fine. Anyway, went on holiday, had the test, went on holiday, in the middle of the ocean, my phone goes, and it's the specialist. And she said, oh, Graham, we need you to come in at ASAP. And I said, well, it's very difficult because I'm in the middle of the ocean. You know, what's the problem? And then she went on and said, look, we found some cancer in your prostate, and it's very aggressive. How long are you away for? And I said, like, I was away for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. So she said, as soon as you get back, can you come in? And yeah, that's what happened. And I went in. I had 2 scans, and they found out that it was very aggressive. And the treatment started from then. I had hormone injections, sort of tests every other day, and yeah, it just sort of, I had to wait. I think I had to wait 2.5 months having the hormone injections, and then I started on the radiotherapy and finished with the brachytherapy, and that took about 4.5 months, and yeah, I'm back now. You know me, Jim. I'm a fighter, and yeah, I fought it, and you know, the good news is that I've come out of it a lot better than what I went into. So yeah,
that's the good news, Graham. Listen, how did tough guy Graham Roberts cope with this? So, because you never shook a challenge, mate.
No, I didn't, but it was a challenge because having to travel sort of from my flat to Mount Vernon every day on the M25, like 3 or 4 days in the time, I was stuck on the motorway for 4 hours, and you know, when you're traveling every day for, I think it was about 2 months, and yeah, that was tough. That was the toughest part, traveling. But the people at Mount Vernon Hospital, the doctors, the radiotherapy people, they were magnificent, and you know, they made it feel a lot easier than what it was. Yeah.
What was it like when you got the all clear news, Graham? I mean, you touched on it, but it must have been a major relief.
Yeah, it was, Jim. You know, I get very emotional about it at the moment, but you know, I had the operation, and the doctor came down, and sort of you think, oh, how did it go? Because I was in hospital for 3 days, and she went, Graham, everything was brilliant. It went perfect, and you know, go and enjoy yourself. And yeah, that was a relief, really.
Now you're going to hold a golf day on November the 7th, I think. Tell me a bit about that, because you're going to start raising funds, right?
So I was with Ozzy yesterday, and I spoke to him, and he said, well, why don't we do a golf day, put my name to it, and you know, raise some money for prostate cancer, because you know, people should realise that having a blood test can save your life. And you know, it's like it's 1 in every 45 minutes in England or in UK one person dies of prostate cancer. And that's like you go to a football match, you watch the first half, somebody's died. So we got to try to help them, and they need all the funds they can get. So, I'm very, very happy with what Aussie wants to be a part of it. And we're going to do it on the 7th of November. It's at Cruise Hill Golf Course, who have really been really fantastic to us. They give us the day, and we're going to raise some money for prostate cancer on that day, and have a good day.
I suppose you were watching events from distance up at Ibrox at Rangers, keeping one eye on that, even probably from your hospital bed. Steven Gerrard has come and gone. Kevin Muscat appears to be the man. If Muscat gets it, what do you think?
I don't really know a lot about
off
him.
your block.
I don't know a lot about him, but I can't understand why Barry Ferguson hasn't had a chance, because he did very well at the end of the season. There must be something different there. I don't know, but I thought Russell Martin was the wrong person when they appointed him, because his style of football, Jim, you're in Scotland. It's a totally different league than what you play down south. You have to have people, you can't just go out there and think the goalkeeper gets the ball and he passes it to the right back, he passes it, and it's just like silly football. In Scotland, it's all, everybody wants to beat Rangers, everybody wants to beat Celtic, and you have to be up for it. And if you're not, you're going to get turned over. And I think Russell's team got turned over too many times. And, hopefully, Muscat is going to be he's going to be good for the team. He's going to be good for the club if they do appoint him. I thought Steven Gerrard was going to come back, but obviously there's too many problems with him in Saudi. So Muscat, he's got a great chance because it's a brilliant club, and we all want it to be back to where it used to be when Walter was alive and Graham Souness when he brought us all up there. We want them days back, and it's a big job, but hopefully, he's been part of it before. Hopefully he can take us to the next level now.
Graham, you stay well, my friend.
I will do, Jim. Thank you for having me on, and send my regards to Simon and everybody at the talkSPORT.
Graham Roberts, just a short time ago, speaking to me about his battle with cancer. I'm going to speak to Simon on the other side of this break, but if you want to donate to Graham's fundraising, then please have a listen up, because you can head to prostateunited.prostatecanceruk.org/hollies-fundraising-page 58, or search for Holly Smith on the Prostate United website. It's 12:30.
Stuart Pearce has given his verdict on Thomas Tuchel's starting options after England booked their place at the World Cup. The former England captain has told talkSPORT that right now Elliot Anderson's a starter and Declan Rice is a shoo-in. So there's only one place available in that midfield three.
It's Bellingham, it's Foden, it's Palmer, and only one of them can get in that role. Morgan Rogers is playing it very well at the moment.
Pearce also says Kane needs wide players like Saka and Gordon who run past him. Meanwhile, Tuchel has 4 more games before naming his squad for North America. The World Cup draw is on December the 5th, and Donald Trump is threatening to take games away from the city of Boston.
If I feel there's unsafe conditions, I would call Johnny, the head of FIFA, who's phenomenal, and I would say, let's move it to another location.
Now, South Africa, Senegal and the Ivory Coast are the latest African qualifiers, while Qatar and Saudi Arabia are also in, but there's some real controversy in Asian qualifying.
When I was in Australia, the playoffs would be in a neutral venue. Then when I went to the AFC draw in Malaysia, it was the 2 highest ranked teams. Iraq was 1 place higher than Saudi Arabia.
Iraq coach Graham Arnold speaking there after the Saudis were given the advantage of playing both 4th round matches at home following a secretive bidding process.
Wow, so many of you heard Graham Roberts chatting to us there about the unfortunate, the scary discovery that he made 6 months ago that, or he was told that he had cancer and had to do something quickish about it, as it was a very aggressive version of it. He did. He's had the all clear, and now Graham typically wants to give something back and is doing just that. Simon, I noticed you listened to Graham because you had a similar experience yourself.
Yeah.
You've come through it with flying colours, I'm delighted to say, and Graham has too.
Yeah, different treatment paths.
Yeah,
I mean, mine was radical prostatectomy, which was cutting it out, and because my age is, I'm younger than Graham, so the options for me were not to have radiotherapy. I suspect he's had radiotherapy. The big underlying message was the same message that I gave a couple of years ago, which got 9-10 million views, is that men over a certain age should have PSA tests.
Yes.
It's very, very simple.
Yeah.
So above 45, getting towards 50, you should be having a PSA test. And from that, you can determine. Most people won't have it, but the statistics are 1 in 8 white guys can have prostate cancer. But more alarmingly, it's 1 in 4 black guys. So it's very important that guys of a certain age, probably 45 plus, getting towards 50, go and have a PSA test, and then you'll probably alleviate your concerns. And B, if you haven't, then you'll rectify the problem.
Yes,
you'll rectify the problem.
And many of you out there are echoing exactly
there was no need to lose someone from prostate cancer.
Yeah. Graham's been in touch, thanking us all. Graham, thank you for the chats earlier on, and good luck with the golf day. We'll do something on the show, no doubt, around and about the golf day itself. In other news, we watched this week with interest. Newcastle United made a very quiet move, but we had wind of this happening. They appointed Nottingham Forest Chief Football Officer Ross Wilson as their new sporting director, which made us think we know all about the role of sporting director because we know about VSI Executive Education and the work they do in this direction, because the co-founder and executive chairman at VSI Executive Education is Andy McIntyre, a friend of this show, and they train the next generation of sporting directors. Andy joins us on the show right now. Andy, good afternoon to you. I mean, the role itself, is it one of the most challenging, sporting director? Is it one of the most challenging in the Premier League?
Good afternoon, gents. Many thanks for the time on your show.
Hi, Andy.
It absolutely is pivotal to the long-term success of a sports organisation. You've talked this morning about sustainability in sport, about the regulator. If a club really wants to be belt and braces safe, they have to have a highly equipped individual in charge of the performance side of their business. A coach typically is driven by short-term needs and aims, but owners need somebody who's going to be responsible for the medium and long term of their organisation.
So, I mean, you are dealing with lads who are coming through. Are a lot of them ex-players, Andy?
We have a number of ex-players who come through. And at the very outset, when we launched the company with my co-founder, Tony Faulkner, we took a view that if you could deliver education and leadership skills to people with a vast industry experience. For example, Jolie Lescott has just graduated through the programme. You know, he's played for England, he's played for Manchester City, he's known the highs and lows of football. You can't teach anybody that experience, but what we can deliver to Jolien is the knowledge and learning that allows him to sit credibly in a senior leadership role. Wes Morgan, captain of Leicester City, and that famous Premiership title-winning season, he's been through the programme, he's graduated with distinction. But it's not just professional players, it's people who are working in the industry already who've got ambition to take the next step up and sit credibly in a senior leadership role.
Yeah.
There's actually
Go on, Dan.
we had Lee Dykes, who's technical director at Brentford on Monday night, and he actually works with the coach, but under a football director. So you're looking at technical director, football director, sporting director. There's so many different aspects to each role. I mean, what do you cover? Everything?
Well, so Lee Dykes is actually a graduate of our programme.
Right.
He came to when it was a low point in his career. Bury had just gone under, and he'd been working there as sporting director. Came and studied with us. By the way, what an industrious, bright character he is. He's
really good he was.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's pulling up trees at Brentford. Watch out for a big career for Lee. He's technical director at the moment. I see him being sporting director at a very significant club in a short period of time. Often there's the challenges and responsibilities of the positioner become conflated. I actually look at the Liverpool model, and I think it's the ultimate person in charge of the performance side of the business should be titled Chief Executive of Football, as Michael Edwards is, because the performance sides of the business now are so big that, and with so many staff and so many responsibilities, one person needs to take ownership of that, reporting to the chief executive. There is a tsunami that's about to hit football, and that's artificial intelligence. And already clubs are using that with increasing effect in the performance side and the business side, just to manage the challenges but big opportunities of that. Can't rest with a coach. It's got to have somebody who takes ownership of these multi-discipline areas of an organisation.
Yeah, Andy, I mean, you put your finger on it. The game has changed so much. The scale of this area of work now and the roles that are involved, Simon, has changed dramatically. I mean, for example, in your time at Palace, did you have a sporting director?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, I did. I mean, I'm familiar with Andy and Tony, and I know their organisation very well, and they're very good at what they do, and they're absolutely right. You know, you're talking about a business that's evolving, and AI, there's lots of AI opportunities out there. There's also lots of AI slop. So people being able to understand what they're looking at and be able to integrate it into the thinking of a forward-thinking business is indeed part of it. And I've seen some of the people that have gone on these courses. I saw from Reece Moamba there years ago, and I see the structure. I've seen the syllabus, so I know what they're doing is very good. It adds education, it adds cohesive thinking, because a lot of footballers, like Julian Lescott, would have been a leader on a field, but commercialising that and turning that into the real world now, outside of the sort of institutionalised world of football, and giving them some commercial toolkits and some education is valuable. And these are very, very good courses, and this is a very good organisation, by the way.
You know what comes through to me, Andy, is that some of the lads that are coming your way now and you're working with them, extremely wealthy boys having had very successful careers on the pitch. They don't need to be doing this, but they want to.
And there's a reason for that. They were successful on the pitch because they were driven, motivated and determined. Jolien's a great case in question. I stood with his mum while he was receiving his graduation certificate, fully gowned up like a true scholar. And she had a tear in her eye. And she said to me, Andy, I'm as proud of him today as I was when he's first capped for England. And I was taken aback inevitably a little bit by that. She said, because education isn't traditionally for people like us. And she said, in fact, I told him not to do it, but he was determined he was going to do it. And he sat till 2 a.m. in the morning, studying, working, driving his dissertation forward. We're part of now, our parent company is UCFB, which is the only football university in the world, exclusively football, with undergraduate and postgraduate programs. Now, at a time when there's a lot of criticism of education, we're actually delivering jobs that young people can step into. So people who come through both UCFB and VSI are going on to have great careers in this burgeoning industry of sport. And the likes of Jolyon and Wes sit at the top of the tree, but we've got so much young talent coming through that are making real credible cases for serious jobs in sport. It's a vocational university.
Andy, brilliant. Andy McIntyre, thank you so much for your time, co-founder and exec chairman at VSI Executive Education. And I know you've been in touch with these lads, Simon.
I've done speeches for them.
You spoke with them. Yeah,
I've done speeches for them. They're a good organisation and vocational training and thinking, and it is modular based and it's clever.
So you can teach boardroom education.
Well, you can't teach. I don't think leadership is something you can particularly teach. You can enhance skills, but the education around commercial thinking, critical thinking, evaluating the disciplines of what business needs to deploy and what logic and what sentiments are the key drivers of a business are fundamental things that we all learn. You get taught them. I didn't learn how to win and make and lose money. I didn't get taught that. I learned it through experience, and education forms part of that thinking. So, from my point of view, I was more of a natural entrepreneur. But in this world, as Andy was talking about, you've got a certain type of characteristic that makes you a professional footballer. Being a professional footballer is a very difficult thing to achieve. There are tens and tens of thousands of kids that want to achieve it. So actually becoming a professional footballer indicates a certain type of thinking.
Yeah.
Then translating it into the commercial world is a change of thinking. So I think that what they're doing is very clever, and they've been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years now. And some of the people they've got coming through it and they're landing in spaces within football are good guys.
They're good. I didn't know that about Jolyon Lescott. Good on him.
I know he's been in the coaching game for a while now, but he's
Get yourself down there, Murphy. Learn something.
I learned more here sat next to you than I did at any of those.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and our student Danny Murphy, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Time flies, doesn't it? Tempus fugit, and I'm not just talking about today, and we're hurtling towards 1 o'clock. Back in 2010, people were saying, who are FSG? This organisation that's taking over Liverpool Football Club, John W. Henry, Tom Werner, Mike Gordon. They have shared a special message as Fenway Sports Group celebrate reaching a landmark 15 years, can you believe it, as Liverpool Football Club owners today. And it was back in 2010 we first heard John W. Henry speak about what lay ahead.
We're going to have to work very hard. There's a lot of work to be done to get this this club to where it needs to be in the grand scheme of things. We really, through all the work we've done over the last 2 months, we saw the challenges and the problems that exist, and we've got to work to address those. But there's a great nucleus here off the field and on the field. So we think we can build from that. But it's not going to be easy. We've got real challenges.
Wow, and that was John W. Henry, Simon, back in 2010. Do you know what, Simon? In this open letter, Liverpool fans will love to hear certain aspects of it, because they say, FSG, there is more to achieve, more to win, and more memories to make together. So that will be music to the fans' ears. What do you think of what they've done thus far?
I think they've done lots of things, most things well, haven't they? I mean, they've made. I
mean, what did they inherit from?
Well, they inherited a football club that was in serious jeopardy. That I think Royal Bank of Scotland were about to pull the ticket on them. Hicks and Gillette had turned it into a car crash, primarily because of their relationship and also because of their lack of resources. And Fenway came in and took what is a great football club and rescued it from potentially an ultimate catastrophe. I don't think Liverpool would have gone out of business, but they might have found themselves in a very seriously precarious position as far as going into administration, which is almost incomprehensible when you look at the size of that football club. You look over the years, no one gets it right all the time. Nobody doesn't make missteps. People will argue about whether they should have taken the furlough, and they did. They suggested they shouldn't have, and of course the fans backlashed. They put ticket prices up. The fans didn't like it.
Yeah,
they were one of the leading lights to go for the European Super League. And ultimately they will again, I'm sure, when the opportunity comes, because American owners look at things in a very different way. But I think if you look at the period of time that they've been in control of this football club, post the Moores family, post Hicks and Gillette, most of the time they've got things right. Few times they've got things wrong. They're good owners. They know the sports industry very well. John Henry, whilst not being the most vociferous of characters, has routinely employed very, very good CEOs.
Yeah.
Whether it's Ian Ayre or Peter Moore, or whether it's in the other side of the business, whether it's other people that his management team have put in place, and player recruitment, which is the biggest spend that they've got. I think the report would say they've done very well.
One of the big takeoff moments, Danny, if you like, was appointing Klopp.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there was no anticipation of how good he was going to be and what he was going to bring, and the type of football and the success. So yeah, they've done a lot right, and I think a lot of people are who look from afar at other clubs are quite admirable of the model and how well they've done. But their success creates more expectation. And that's the thing with an owner that I obviously never know, but you start getting some success and fans want more. And
exactly,
it's just an ongoing thing, but they're in a great position. The club's in a great position.
And those Liverpool fans cannot wait for the resumption of the Premier League, because on Sunday at Anfield, they host Manchester United. And all of a sudden it comes back round again. So, Daniel, let's leave today with a thought or two in our minds about what lies ahead on Sunday. I mean, after 3 defeats on the bounce before the international break, is Manchester United the best or the worst opponent for Liverpool to come back to?
It's a great game. It's a great game to come back to. A lot of times games after international duties are quite flat. And I don't think they'd want a team that are expected to roll over. I mean, people are expecting Liverpool to win, but Liverpool United's a huge fixture across the world. And we've seen last year United turn up there and fight, and their top players putting in performances. They played well. So it won't be easy. I think Liverpool will get over the line. I think there's a need and a must to get over the line and put those 3 defeats to bed. But yeah, it's a great game, because the one thing you don't have to worry about when you play Man United is the fans. It'll be electric.
Yeah.
And it'll be a great game. I mean, I say a great game. It'll be a intense game.
Yeah. You always used to score against United, didn't you? At Old Trafford, actually.
I had a good record, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but because I grew up being taught to hate them. So I used to have a bit more in me when we played against them, maybe. No, I'm joking. It's a game that the players, no matter where you're from, are quickly made aware of the enormity of it. And I can't wait for it, actually. Can't wait.
Liverpool,
God forbid it goes wrong.
Who wins it?
Liverpool will win. But it won't be easy.
Okay.
Just because United have started badly doesn't mean they're going to roll over. No chance. It'll be tight.
Okay, 15 years of FSG in charge of Liverpool. We could never have imagined exactly how the next 15 years would unfold. That was John W. Henry. I wonder how the next 15 years of this show with Simon and himself will unfold.
Well, I don't think you have to worry about the next 15, Jim.
I know. Can you imagine? I would be 83.
I would be even more influential than I am now.
There you go. Great line to finish up on. Danny, thank you so much, mate. As for you, Professor Jordan, mañana at 10. We're coming up to 1 o'clock.